Hi, how are you today? So I am pretty upset today. I'm pretty pissed off. We're going to be back on the Brittany Jones situation. She did message me on Facebook. We had words, and today we're going to go over all of that. So we're going to go over the conversation Brittany Jones and I had. I'm also going to be showing you guys the Google Drive folder, some things that I haven't shown you guys yet before that I had screenshot previously. And we'll also be going over some of the everything that I've covered about her before as well. I'll give y'all a little recap, and I'll be pulling up as well some evidence in the meantime based on the conversation at hand. But basically, she's denying ever trying to represent as if she grew up connected to an indigenous culture or something like that. Yeah, even though we've seen the evidence of her claiming such. So we're gonna go over all of that. I'm gonna roll my intro and we're gonna jump right up into this bitch.
Winga boneta bawa, descendants of one Seneca. Seneca Maca is the land of the Powhatan.
Okay, so getting right on in here, Brittany Jones has blocked me everywhere because she cannot take accountability for her actions and she's afraid of confrontation. But beginning here, she said, hey, why would you make a video saying I cause harm to our tribe? You didn't even talk to me. And mind you guys, in every post I've ever made of her, I've shared her own words. I've reacted to her own Facebook posts and comments she's made. Her words have been shared every step of the way. Her perspective has been shared every step of the way. Hi, exposure. I am too pissed off to hold a conversation today, so I will not be referring to you today. Nothing about you. I'm just too pissed off, so, you know. I mean, I might end up answering questions because I'm ADHD as fuck, or comments, not questions, whatever. But I'm too pissed off to not be aggressive today. So anything that comes out of me is just what's coming out of me right now, and I need you to understand that if you're commenting, I'm in a pissy space. Be prepared. But so fucking. Why wouldn't you take accountability for the harm you caused to the tribe? Misrepresenting tribal connection is harm. Having people attack Bill Deyo is harm. Having people question the legitimacy of the tribe when our federal recognition is up in the air and being a reason for perpetuating misinformation about the tribe from the pronunciation to the spelling to facts about us is harm. And didn't even talk to her. I did talk to her. Matter of fact, she's the one who told me that I could make videos on her, and I'll show you that as well. She knew in advance I was going to be making videos, and I told her in advance if she wanted my opinion about her an endorsement for Oregon, I would have to review all the facts, and that is what the fuck I did. So she already knew I was doing this. I didn't have any questions about what I really reacted to. So what point was there to hold a conversation with her about it when I wasn't even done yet with everything? Like I have said previously in these videos, if you had watched them, I was going to wait till I was done processing everything to have a conversation with Brittany Jones about it, so that way I could have it when I was in a more chill mindset, if it was going to be in a place of, okay, let's educate her, because she clearly doesn't know better, right? However, in this situation, it's like, she's had so many chances, and instead of, you know, if she were to do this privately, we would have the chance for a private, you know, correction. However, you cannot speak for Native people publicly and then expect to only be corrected privately. No, that's going to be a public correction then. Because if public correction is needed to correct what you fucked up. And then spread propaganda to cause harm to her. I've never spread any propaganda to cause any harm to her. Me discussing why descendants should not try to represent Native issues should not cause any harm to her unless she's trying to exploit descendant identity to represent Native people. That's not causing harm. Are you fucking kidding me? How is that causing harm unless you're exploiting Native people? Because all I'm talking about is not exploiting Native people. As a matter of fact, I've gone out of my way to correct propaganda spread and misinformation spread about not only Brittany Jones, but also Bill Deyo and the Patawomeck tribe because of people who don't like Brittany Jones, which Brittany Jones never did. She never corrected any misinformation. In fact, she perpetuated it and is part of the cause of it, which is harmful to the fucking tribe, which is why I said that. Are you fucking kidding me? And previously, I would say maybe she hadn't done anything to me directly, you know? But with these messages, for her to degrade me for speaking my opinion about how she's misrepresenting Indigenous people, and for her to not take any accountability for the harm she causes, that is her causing harm to me. Now she has done something to me. And I defended her. I have defended her so much. If you watch my videos, the amount of times I've defended her. But she's not grateful for any of that because she doesn't want to have to accept any criticism for the harm she causes to others. Anyway, I responded to her. Correcting the truth about your lies is not propaganda. You claim jingle dress dancing, Oregon ceremonies, and Oregon powwow means you were raised with an Indigenous experience. That is a lie and wrong. That is pretendianism, pan-indigeneity, Indigenous erasure. You got on live TV and a podcast and said this made you raised connected to Native culture. It does not. I also showed your genealogy. You have no Native ancestors documented. Post your Native lineage, proof of all your ancestors. Post proof you have connection to Patawomeck since childhood. Post proof your mom always claimed Patawomeck. Post proof you have been connected to Patawomeck since childhood. Then I'll correct it. Until then, stop lying. I tried protecting you. I haven't shared what you said about you thinking you were not raised right, but if I share that, no one will look at you the same. That was me giving you room to grow and learn. But you lying about your proximity to natives, using proximity to other cultures, other tribes, to act like that gives a lived Powhatan Indigenous experience is a form of identity fraud. And then let's get into the voice notes. Let's see. Let's see if it will caption.
I have never said I've been connected to the Patawomeck since childhood, for one. For two, neither did my mom. She was part of the Native American Student Association in Lane County, and I never said that I grew up with the Native experience either. I clearly say that I hadn't. I say I had a connection to the Native community out here as a child, and it ended when my mom graduated college. I literally sent Bill my DNA. We are blood relatives. And I sent him my genealogy. So maybe you should have came and verified shit with me before you posted shit that could cause harm to a Native woman, especially a relative. I am out here fighting for our communities. I've been reconnecting to our tribe for almost 5 years now, learning about our tribe and our history. I've never claimed to be connected to us, to our community as a child. You made that shit up. You failed at doing due diligence without coming to me, because that is due diligence. And I had an open door for you. You know that. I told you in our messages to come talk to me if you had any questions. You failed to do that. You are not a journalist. You are not an investigator, because anyone that did that would have came and talked to me, the source. Goodbye. I will not have people that cause harm in my circle.
I watched your Ken Bodie interview. I read the Voices for Voices article about you. And I also watched the interview you did on transplaning, which has evidence of everything I've already discussed related to your claims, on top of your social media posts yourself. Okay? Now, on social media, you've also claimed Blackfoot before, but there's no Blackfoot documentation in your genealogy, and I can post proof of that as well. And when it comes to everything that you're saying does not make you a Native woman. You're not Indigenous, okay? You do not have an Indigenous lived perspective. Having Indigenous ancestry doesn't just mean now I'm an Indigenous woman. That is the problem. You getting on live television, on live podcasts to represent yourself as an Indigenous woman when you have no Indigenous lived perspective, trying to speak for Indigenous people when you are a white woman. You are mostly white. Every single ancestor you have documented is a colonizer. You only have European ancestors documented. You have no Native ancestors documented. It's on Family Search. It's literally public record. No public record of your ancestry exists. And you just said you're not going to, or you're only share that privately with Bill, but you're refusing to share that publicly. And Bill's only confirmed that you shared a GEDmatch analysis, not genealogical records. So that's where the confusion is there. There's been no confirmation other than GEDmatch DNA. That's not the same as having your ancestry confirmed and knowing who your ancestors are. That's not the same as your ancestors being public record, because if you were Patawomeck, your ancestors would be documented. And my dad, he's always known our ancestry. He's always known exactly who his ancestors were and that he was Powhatan. He was never lost that connection. My dad presents as an Indigenous man. He doesn't have to go to a Native community to feel a sense of proximity to being Indigenous because he is Indigenous. Your mother being a white woman studying Native people doesn't make her Indigenous. That's why we have people like Helen Roundtree trying to act like Patawomecks don't exist. And you can't even say the Patawomeck name right. You keep mispronouncing it. You don't even know how to say Patawomeck. Like it's Patawomeck. You do not know how to pronounce the tribe name right. And you have literally had people attacking William Deyo. You have literally had people attacking the tribe, saying the tribe doesn't exist. You're literally attacking and causing harm to the tribe. Since our federal recognition has been up, all you have done is try to exploit tribal identity for your own political campaigns, and you have done nothing to fight for the federal recognition of the tribe. You've done nothing to go reconnect with the community members. You've never even fucking been to Virginia. And you are allowing the tribe to be misrepresented. You are allowing people to say the tribe's name wrong, to spell the tribe's name wrong on public record in the media because you don't even know how to fucking represent being Indigenous. You are calling yourself an Indigenous woman and you're allowing people to interview you about the Indigenous perspective, and then you're giving them answers. You're telling them Haudenosaunee 7-generation principles. That's not Powhatan. You're saying jingle dress dancing makes you Powhatan. That's Anishinaabe. You're saying fry bread makes you Powhatan, Indigenous culture connected. That's Navajo. You can't say you were raised with Indigenous culture if you were not connected to your own. Being around other Indigenous people does not make you Indigenous. Just finding out who your ancestors was a few years ago does not make you Indigenous. That is the problem. There is a difference between finding out you're a descendant and going on that journey to reconnect with Indigenous community versus just saying you're part of a community you have not done the work to be a part of. Okay? Whew! Sakir Winkan? Ada mo squad, Sakir Winkan? Kekitawomeck. Do you know it? No? Winkan no peace, Ana. You take no accountability for the harm you cause. What about the fucking truck you took people's money for to raffle off and you never even gave away that SUV? You're the one causing harm. You're the one speaking over Native people. When Native people call you out, you sit there and you don't fucking listen to them. And then you're trying to represent Native identity? Are you fucking kidding me? Me calling you out for your cultural appropriation, cultural exploitation is not causing harm to Natives. But you being a reason that people invalidate the tribe is. And the fact that you don't see that you being a reason people harass Bill Deyo is causing harm to others. And the fact you take no fucking accountability for that shit really pisses me off. And I never claimed to be an investigator. I never claimed to be a journalist. I do fucking marketing. I'm speaking from my lived experience because my fucking dad has always been fucking Native. I don't have to go 10 fucking generations back. I don't have to do a GEDmatch test to find out I'm Native. I was born being fucking Native. Unlike you, bitch. Okay? I understand you don't know what it means to be Native. That's why you have to go quote from Haudenosaunee instead of Powhatan principles when people ask you, what the fuck does it mean to build a life for the goddamn future? But, that's the difference fucking between us. One of us cares to reconnect to Powhatans. The other one cares to exploit Indigenous identity for your own political fucking gain. Fuck you, bitch. And you know what? I I literally quoted you. I used your Facebook post. You were the source for a lot of my everything. Your input has been in here every step of the way. So you being mad because your words are in my videos and then saying, oh, I didn't use you as a source. I did use you as a source. Whew. Why would I talk to you about why the fuck you're lying about this truck raffle? Why the fuck are you lying about Indigenous identity? What the fuck is wrong with you? You literally act like you're not European. You're mostly European. Just acknowledge it. Be okay with it. You're a fucking white woman. It's okay to be white. You're a white woman. You're not connected to Indigenous people. That's okay. That was real stressful, my bad. I was just like, you know what? We really need to calm down here. Okay. Just take a deep breath. Jesus Christ. That was a lot. Yeah. These are a lot of bottles. Is that it? No, there's more. Okay, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, fucking, that was a lot, but, okay, so, I also said, you know, I sent some pictures of my dad here. Hey, Dad. Dad looks good. Oh, no, it's something she sent me in the wrong direction. Picture of me and my dad, me, my twin, and my dad and I. This captioner is, like, still up. I don't know why. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So, you know, I just sent her some pictures of my dad and I, me and my dad, the dad and I, because she's got to go, you know, 10 generations back to find her native ancestry. So I was just letting her know what it's like, looks like when you only got to go 1 generation back. But, you know how it is. So I said, just me raised by an Indigenous parent who knows his lineage and passed on his ways, something you'll never understand as a Patawomeck woman. You literally have to go back 10 generations to find a native ancestor, and we're raised being a white woman, which there was nothing wrong with, but it's so weird. You lied on the news and in podcasts and now want to deny that in your voice messages, just like you denied filing a fake stalking order when you were squatting. Blocking people because you don't take accountability for your lies and the harm you caused to Patawomecks is proof you would not be a good governor. If the tribe you claim can't hold you accountable, how can your fellow colonizers hold you accountable? Because she is a descendant of Nathaniel Bacon, after all. Not acknowledging how your misrepresentation of Patawomeck pronunciation is Indigenous erasure is a form of racism on your part, as is not acknowledging how you calling yourself an Indigenous woman when you have no Indigenous lived experience is a lie on your part, and you not making it clear on the news have distant ancestry, and no cultural community or worldview of an Indigenous woman matters when it comes to representing Indigenous issues. You causing people to attack Bill Deyo and the tribe because you lied about taking funds to give away a car and never did is harm. Okay, I refer to the vehicle as car, truck, SUV. I think it's technically an SUV. It's a fucking vehicle. Who gives a shit? Anyway. Me calling you out for these things isn't harm unless you see accountability as an attack, which shows white cultural assimilation and white fragility mindset on your part. So that's what the fuck I sent Brittany. She blocked me on TikTok and on Facebook. So I don't think she technically blocked me on Messenger, but I don't know if she's going to read this or see it. But I don't give a fuck. For her to take away from my videos that this is just propaganda, when there is so much teachings and so much work I put into explaining the history, the principles, the ideologies behind the issues here and what we are saying, it just pissed me the fuck off. It pissed me the fuck off. And to negate all the work I did put in to defend her, to act like that wasn't enough, because I am calling out where she is causing harm, is problematic. Because I feel like I've tried so hard to do both. You know what I mean? I've corrected misinformation about her from others, and I've also told and showed my truth on why I think and what I think. And you know what I mean? And all of that has been based on her own fucking actions. Now, let's see here. Oh, some of this we've already gone through, so I'm going to just click through what we've gone through here. But So in 2021, she tagged her mother and said, "We are Patawomeck Indian from Virginia. William Redman was a Patawomeck orphan taken in by the Redman family. Now I say taken in lightly given the circumstances back then. He is my 10th great grandfather." This is what she claims. And she first started claiming Patawomeck in 2021, you guys. And she started informing everybody, including her mother and her mother's side, that they were Patawomeck. So that is when her journey started, to my knowledge. Now, she's also said here, "Dude, I know it's a long stretch genealogically, but my 10th great grandfather survived the Patawomeck massacre by the English when he was 16. He had children with a descendant of Pocahontas' sister." Now, what I don't understand is, because right here, the ancestor William Redman did not have children with a descendant of Pocahontas' sister. That would be Wahongonoche. Wipsewason Wahongonoche had a marriage and kids with the descendant of Pocahontas, with the daughter of Kauki. So, you know what I'm saying? So how is Wahongonoche your 10th great grandfather if you're claiming that William Redman was your 10th great grandfather? That doesn't make sense ancestrally, because if Wahongonoche were your 10th great grandfather, not William Redman, it was Wahongonoche who married a descendant of Pocahontas' sister. So if Wahongonoche was your 10th great grandfather, how is William Redman your 10th great grandfather when William Redman is a descendant of Wahongonoche? That I do not understand. And, you know what I mean? Those statements are conflicting. They do not align to me. There's no genealogical records of her ancestry. And mind you guys, we did go through all of her genealogical records on this side that are public record. Nothing, not a single native ancestor is documented. Only European ancestors are documented, with the exception of 2 couples that came from Barbados. One of the couples that came from Barbados, they had prior lineage documented from England. The other couple that was documented Barbados, they did not have prior ancestry documented, so I don't know if they are actually from Barbados or like the other one from England as well. But other than that, everything is 100% only European documented. So, what are the chances you have multiple Patawomeck lines and not a single one is documented? And why are you claiming 2 different people are your 10th great grandfather? Wouldn't you know which one it is? And it wouldn't make sense, time-wise, genealogically, for them to both be your 10th great grandfather. Can't wrap my head around it. I would have to see the family tree to understand how that would make sense. Are you saying you descend from multiple lines? What are the chances they're not documented? Both aren't documented then. Because you know what? There's a chance that one might not be documented. I'll accept it. You know? But what are the chances of both? No, something's off. Now, next up, and I've already addressed a lot of the social issues behind these posts, so I'm not going to reread everything and readdress every fucking thing here, because I already did that. But on this one right here, November 24th, 2021, Brittany Jones said, "I have recently started posting about my Native American heritage. It is not something I was very vocal about before because I was not sure that if what I was told was true. My mom would bring us to powwows, potlucks, and even had gatherings in our homes." Okay, so you just told me in voice message that your mother never claimed Patawomeck. Now you're sitting here saying you don't know if what you told was true back in 2021. So which is it? Who told you what? Okay, that's inconsistent. And then here you're saying, you know, apparently I was a bad enough kid to even need a specific ceremony for myself. Even I only took what the fuck is this? This isn't Powhatan. None of this is a connection to indigenous culture or indigenous people. You just told me in these voice messages that your mother never claimed that she was Native. So what the fuck is that? Which voice message was it? Hold on.
For 2, neither did my mom. She was part of the Native American Student Association.
Oh, right here. Okay, hold on.
I have never said I've been connected to the Patawomeck since childhood, for 1. in Lane County, and I never up with the Native experience say that I hadn't. For two, neither did my mom. She was part of the Native American Student Association in Lane County, and I never said that I grew up with the Native experience.
So she's claiming, so here, you know what I mean? So this Facebook post she made is not in alignment with that voice message she gave me. What? What? Those are conflicting statements. You're just making these posts as if this is a proximity to you being involved in Native culture right here. This is problematic. This is what the fuck I'm talking about. None of this is Powhatan. None of this is an association with the Powhatan culture. So this one was in confirming her lineage, because it was called the Charlotte, and then Charlotte Raff McNeil. We already went through all of that genealogy. So here she's claiming that she found her dad's side's Native ancestors from the census records Dawes card for 5 civilized tribes. So it might either be Chickasaw in Oklahoma Territory or Choctaw. My family has said Choctaw or Blackfoot, but I'm not going down that rabbit hole as soon as I can. But I'm going to be going down that rabbit hole. I'm so excited. That means I really do have Native from both sides of my family. I did both sides' genealogical records. There are no Native ancestors documented on either side. There's no Blackfoot, no Choctaw, no Chickasaw ancestry I found documented on her dad's side when I did the genealogy. I did find ancestry from Mexico. That's it. That's the closest to the Native ancestry on her dad's side I could find. Other than that, no, this did not exist to me. I don't know why the fuck she's claiming Blackfoot, Choctaw, Chickasaw, all of that. Alright, I don't believe it. Not from the genealogical records I found. And, yeah. This post, it just looks like fetishization of Native identity. I find it problematic. Okay. Now, so, she said, me and Lady Wolfsong are related. I said, I don't know who Lady Wolfsong is. And I said, it's interesting when a mutual is a relative. She said, right, I checked hers against Bill's, but no match, but we both have Powhatan connections. I said, interesting. I'm assuming she meant DNA? I don't know. I think that's weird. I honestly don't think that we fully understand DNA yet. Sometimes I wonder if the reasons we have common DNA with some people isn't because of shared Native ancestors, but because of shared colonizer ancestors. Anyway, on November 4th, 2025, she said, racism is stopping us from getting this restaurant for our community. I said, I bet the right space will come along if this doesn't work out. And she said, and I said, my twin was really disappointed last year because the owner of the building for her coffee shop pulled out, but now she's getting a new one built. Stick to the business plan. It's just an obstacle creators are revealing to you that it's not going to be a safe space for you. Document everything. Use this portfolio to land something better. And she said, the community was responding on that post that they want me to fight for it. I've never seen that before. That is unacceptable that she feels that way, etc. I'm going to go through the steps, and if the legal road doesn't work, then I'll let it go. We still need donations for the 99 locations, so I'm trying to figure that out. I said, I support whatever you want to do. My only concern, because, you know, sometimes I feel like if you tell people you don't support them, they're not going to fucking listen to you. So I was trying to be supportive. I said, I support whatever you want to do. My only concern is that if she treats you this way now, then it'll get worse. If you ever do anything, fits there, but do what you feel is best. I said, I hope you can find other space in the same community where you are treated better and welcome. She said, considering we would be buying the building, it would be our responsibility to place anything, but I do hear your point as well. I said, it's a sell, not a rental. Okay, that actually changes things. You should try to get an attorney to advise you. You might have a case. she said, I forgot what this voice message said. I actually don't even think it said anything. But she said in Oregon, it's called participation or something like that, where even without a signed contract, if you have the agreement in writing, have the key switch utilities into your name, and have began operations, then you have legal rights to take it to court, force them to go through with it. And I said, I would look for an attorney in business contracts and or discrimination that does free consultations. Because at this point, I didn't fully know what would happen. But if your friend is, or someone you know is messaging you like, hey, I'm going through shit, and if you don't, a lot of times you're just going to be supportive, right? Until you find out more information. So, she said, we are definitely looking for attorneys right now. I'm bringing a demand letter with me for her to honor her agreement because we do have it in writing. I said I would look if there's a cooling period that applies in your state law that might give her the legal ability to change her mind, but if not, I think it's against the law. Like, she'd have to prove you committed fraud or aren't paying to legally back out if you've made any payments or there has been an agreement and an acceptance of payment is proof of that. She said, there is not even with us operating for only 2 days because we already moved forward in good faith. We have a standing on it because we put resources, time, money as if we were moving full time forward. I said, I would document everything. If a cool down law applies, you might not have a case, but other than that, you do have a case, or at least legally she has to formally evict you. But if she does that and it goes on your record, that would make it harder for you to secure something else, not only for business, but also housing. And she says the weather locations has 5, I need to cut my nail. The weather locations has 5 houses on it. One of them, it's not going to be mine in May, so I'm not worried about the house. It's going to be mine in May, so I'm not worried about the housing issue. I said, okay, we'll do what you think is best. She said there is no grace period in Oregon, and because she gave me the keys and gave me possession, she will have to legalize. She said she'll have to legalize you Bitsby or something like that. I don't know. I think this is a typo or something. She can't just take the keys back. Legally evict her. I said, yeah, I just don't like the idea of an eviction on your record. She said, Sam, I'm sure the law's on my side with this one. Newsflash, it wasn't. I'm sick of white people breaking their word. Oh, well, that didn't age well considering you're one of them. But I said, sometimes the law can be on your side and they still don't care, which sucks also. She said, yeah, the elder told me to use my skin color in cases like this. And I said, yeah, I don't know if that will help in this case. And I thought that was a weird comment to make. She said, true. Then she said, a descendant of Ann Meese found me. Also, I'm related to Lady Wolfsong on TikTok. We are trying to find out how, either through Patawomeck or Powhatan, but haven't found any Powhatan relatives that I know of. And I said, Powhatan tribe no longer exists. Anyone claiming Powhatan as the tribe, not the culture, confederacy, language, or man, is confused about their tribal affiliation if they do have the lineage. They would most likely be Pamunkey, Patawomeck, or Mattaponi descent, depending on ancestry. And mind you guys, if you're like my dad, he's a boomer, right? And the technology for doing genealogical records on computers and things like that, and where it could actually be easy to do, didn't come out until the last 30 or so years, where it's actually become easier to do. So there's a lot of, people who may be like my dad, where they're disconnected from the tribe. They know their lineage. They know the culture they descend from and the original people they come from, but they may not know which specific band or tribe that their lineage would most be affiliated with, or the correct way to identify, because there could be, situations where, for example, my ancestors, half of them are mixed, mind you, and so different tribes claim them because they are part of different tribes. But that also creates confusion for tribal identity for people who aren't connected to the culture to then go back and say, okay, well, which one is the correct one for me, right? So there's things like that where, okay, you might know your lineage and everything, but if you're disconnected to a certain point because of disputes and because of what is or is not public record about your ancestry, you may not know the specific correct tribe to make sure you're getting your lineage confirmed to verify, okay, this is the correct tribal identification, the correct community, right? So a lot of disconnected natives have that. And it doesn't negate Native identity because they still know their ancestors, they still know can prove their genealogical records, and they know what teachings and what ways were passed on through them, through their ancestry, which takes them all the way back to the community they belong to, right? It's when you get disconnected from that it can be much harder to go on that journey. And there's nothing wrong with being a descendant. What's wrong is inflating your proximity to indigenous culture as if that makes you more native than you actually are. But anyway, she said, thank you, I will pass that info on. And I said, no problem. If there's an ancestor marked as Powhatan, either one of their descendants should be now affiliated with a tribe still existing today, or someone marked them as Powhatan without knowing what tribe they're from, or I've seen people mark people that I know have no Powhatan ancestry as Powhatan, such as claiming we have achieved corn stalk, which we do not and never did. She said, this is insane. I've never claimed to be enrolled, and now someone claiming to be a tribal member is saying I'm lying because they called the tribal office and asked if I was a member. She does keep saying she's a member of Native American community though. Even if she never claimed to be enrolled, I can prove to you guys where she's accepted that identity publicly in the news. It is extremely problematic, and in my opinion, fraud. She said these people are causing so much harm. Now, people were saying, if like, I've already addressed those people, I'm not going back down that rabbit hole. I'm going to say that what she's referring to, there's a mix. Some of those people I do agree with, because some of them, they're not discounting her ancestry or descendancy. They're speaking to the Native representation and why descendants need to go reconnect before they speak for Native identity. I support that vernacular. Then there's other people completely discrediting the Potomac tribe, discrediting Bill Deyo. I disagree with that. Now, Bill Deyo did confirm her lineage, and I have continued to say that. And I've said it over and over again. And she's still telling me that's not enough. Me, what? As if like I'm causing her harm when I've literally said over and over again that Bill Deyo did confirm her lineage. Y'all can make a drinking game of the amount of times I've said that in my streams, and you would probably get alcohol poisoning. And still she claims, you know, I didn't defend her enough, but whatever. I said I would show the emails with you and Deyo and show proof of lineage. Do you know who the person claiming to be a member is? I can ask around about them. She said, I don't. Their username was blocked out of the screenshot. Deyo has repeatedly verified my lineage to these people. It's not enough. But the member thinks I claim to be a member, which I never did. Okay. All right. Let's just, you know what? No, we're gonna go back to that later. I'll show you that. But she did end up doing that on the news. But anyway, it clicked away. So then it's the golden turquoise screenshot. We've already covered this. She says, I don't know who this Potomac person is that is believing when they say I'm not a member when I'm not. I've never claimed to be. I said, let me see the emails. I can at least use that to clear up the pretending issue. And that's what I did too. My original purpose of these videos was basically, I was saying, look, is she technically a descendant? Yes. It wasn't until I realized how she's lying about her Native identity that I've gone to know, wait a minute, now this is pretendianism. Before I realized she was doing that, because she told me here that she was not, that's where I was defending her, because I'm taking her word for it, and now you got me looking stupid, because I fucking defended you and believed you. Anyway, but she said she's driving, she's going to get me the screenshot, and, she needs to crop out the email because there's a dead name in it or something like that. And I've also discussed, you know, there is honorary enrollment. So that's where these screenshots that we've already gone over came from. And then she had said his response to stars on the very bottom. I just blocked out her email to him because she claims that a dead name was shared even though I've never posted this publicly. And then the screenshot where it says from William's mouth himself that she isn't Native American. You're obviously focusing only on the last part where he claims he wasn't aware of the claims against me, and why would he be aware of a landlord-tenant issue in Oregon when he is in Virginia? And then he's saying he's sorry if he didn't realize he was being scammed, which he hasn't been scammed, they're just telling him he has been. I don't see how I could scam him when he literally compared our DNA. And mind you guys, I just question, you know, I've already gone on my discrepancies and what could that be, you know, like could it be because they have common colonizer ancestors that's why their DNA is a match, you know? Or what, if that would fit an explanation as to why there's no native ancestors documented in her family tree, but Bill Deyo still claims her from the GEDmatch. That was one of the explanations I had, as well as other explanations, which we've already gone over. But, you know, okay, let's just keep going for now. Hold on. She then sent me the other emails and screenshot that we've already gone over. I said, okay, I want to do a full analysis of all the hate coverage on you from what I agree with and disagree with, like in terms of how I had said before. I thought you should leave when everything went down to the claims of your lineage, to what people are saying about your money and everything, which is what I've done. I told her this is what I was going to do, what I wanted to do, and this is what I've done. And I said, I'll clear your name on pretendian claims, will address every issue people have. And I did. I've said over and over, Bill Deyo confirmed her lineage. I put so much effort into doing that. All I've fucking done is call out where I believe she misrepresented her proximity to Native community and correct misinformation she has spread about Powhatans. That's all I've done, and why she doesn't like me, and that fucking pisses me off for that reason. Because it's like, have you not fucking paid attention to these fucking videos, Dan? Fuck you, bitch. Anyway, I said I will address every issue people have as to why it keeps coming up in terms of me discussing how you can't just call someone a pretendian just because you don't like them. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what the fuck I've done. I've really dived into what are all the allegations against Brittany Jones, you know? And it's like, honestly though, I literally spent so much time defending her. If I had a bunch of people talking shit about me and someone actually was defending me, I would not be mad about that personally, just because they also had criticisms about me still. Like, people can have an opinion about you. I'm not a fucking yes woman. I'm not here to metaphorically suck your dick. Anyway, and she said, well, the hate coverage is a lie. I was never a squatter or a grifter, and I would appreciate if they were not pushed forward or addressed more. I've had businesses and business locations that have failed. This does not mean I'm a grifter. The percentage of business ventures that fail in the first year is extremely high, which is maybe why you should listen to someone who's owned a business for over 15 years. Just saying. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And I would prefer if questions were asked before anything is said about their other claims. I'm filing a restraining order and defamation case. And I responded to her that I didn't want to fucking do that, that I wanted to just cover it anyway, right? I said, I think covering it could be helpful because if they try to deny they said what they said, the evidence will be not only preserved but made public. I don't know if legally you have a case on a lot of what people are saying because First Amendment right to react to public information. The only people you can hold liable are the news, but they do have attorney staff to fight back. So it will be an expensive legal battle, and you'll have to prove you were not kicked out or asked to leave, or they can still or they can still say those things under free speech and commentary laws. And she responded, apparently I cut off the other part, but anyway, so hard to build safe spaces. I don't know, that's my bad. Apparently I didn't get that. But it says, I have proof of everything. Squatters never get approval for utilities to be put in their name, never get handed keys, never agree to monthly payments. I could debate that. We're not going to go there right now. They did terminate my tenancy after they illegally tried to evict me first. We came to a stipulated agreement, and they aren't even supposed to be posting derogatory remarks anymore. They're in clear violation of a court order, and it's affecting my mental health so badly. I said, okay, I just can't address the pretendian part or back that up without addressing the comments. They call you that or the context. I think staying silent allows Indigenous erasure, and they will feel empowered to keep going. But legally, I'm liable if I accuse news stations of lying about your Native identity without showing the evidence. I understand you don't want to be seen as a squatter or see yourself as one, but I think why people call you that is by definition, squatting is when you don't have permission to be there and consent changed for that. It's kind of like how if you change your mind about sex, just because you were into it before, it doesn't mean it's not essay if consent changes. And I told her that it's legally defined as someone occupying a dwelling unit without a rental agreement or authorization, distinct from a tenant overstaying a lease. And she's trying to argue that she's the tenant overstaying like some sort of legal agreement or something, but she didn't the courts ruled there was no agreement in place. You know, so that's why people legally can get away with it, you know. I just want to put that out there. But, and so, yeah. She said, that's not how squatting works. As a resident, if you get an eviction notice and you fight in court, you're not a squatter. Same thing for a commercial tenant. Not if you lose. Anyway, their own form says termination of tenancy. And yeah, the article fits it, but it's still causing harm. It is what it is. When I'm elected and invite the tribe, they won't be able to say shit then. I just know that I posted anything will be twisted. I just don't know who that member is to contact them to let them know. I never claimed to be a member. I said, you just never had a valid lease, so by definition, people can call you a squatter. I worked at 3 law firms. And that's true. So then we got into that debate. I said if you were a tenant with a lease, it would be different. But you did have an agreement where consent changed, but since you don't have a lease, that's why they can legally call you one without consequence. And since no lease is in place, they can't legally evict because that applies to lease in place, which is why tenancy wording. She says, and so we were still going over about that, like they can legally evict. They never said they couldn't. The first eviction was a self-help lockout was illegal, and I took them to court about Oregon recognizes agreements and messages as legally enforceable even without a signed lease. I could Google the same thing, and AA would say I'm not considered a squatter. I said, right, if the owner changes consent, then they no longer have permission and count as squatter legally. Even that answer proves what I'm saying. Because I'm not, I said, I think not addressing it allows Indigenous erasure, because they're claiming, you know, that she's not, they were saying, because they were making claims about whether or not she was Patawomeck and whether or not she was enrolled. I said, I think not addressing it allows Indigenous erasure, but if I make a video explaining how they are aware you are a descendant, but still invalidating your Indigenous ancestry, that proves malicious intent on their part. Now, because at this point, it was what people were invalidating whether or not she had the ancestry, and that I do disagree with, right? But because they hadn't done any research on the genealogy to discover whether or not, you know, the ancestors are documented. I've done that on here, family search. But anyway, I still think that descendants trying to speak over connected Indigenous people is also malicious intent and Indigenous erasure. And at that point, I didn't realize that's what she was still fucking trying to do. I said, I think reviewing their evidence will show their intent. For example, there was a dude who has no Powhatan ancestry calling himself the Matoka gatekeeper calling you out. She said, the last thing my campaign needs is for the flames to be fanned. On the squatter issue, which, when I've never been a squatter in my entire life. I said, I think you're hung up on not wanting to be seen as a squatter, but like they're gonna call you that anyway, and I think they legally can. But that doesn't mean I think you're one. I do think you had permission and it all went south. So when I tell you, I don't think she meant to be one, honestly, but I do think she kind of did end up being one by definition, but I don't think she necessarily meant to be one, to be honest. I think she's just like entitled as fuck. I don't know, but yeah. It said, this is not about me trying to convince you you're one or me thinking you're one. It's just a fact under free speech and commentary laws, they legally can call you one. Since the consent changed, but I do agree with you that because you got permission, you weren't trying or intending to squat. I think you were desperately trying to hold on to the wrong space for you because you haven't found the right one yet. If you engage with people about if they can call you a squatter, I think that gets into semantics, which detracts from your evidence. But if you focus on putting your evidence out there, then that just makes them look bad long term. Because she's getting real hung up on arguing with people about that, and the thing is though, she did not have permission to be there, so that will not go well for her no matter what, and she doesn't get that. She said, there's a lot of people calling me, quote unquote, calling me out, but there's nothing to call me out for because I haven't done anything except for survive and fight for what's right. She always thinks that what she's fighting for is right, but that's where she needs to start realizing maybe what she's doing isn't right. She needs to learn how to take accountability, in my opinion. And she said, I came for you not to get you to post anything, but because we're from the same family and I needed to vent about what's going on. Whether they think I'm a squatter or not is irrelevant to my heritage, and I don't understand why deep dive into that needs to be done when Oregon law clearly shows I'm not a squatter. They are MAGA Republicans that are mad because I wanted to hire Indigenous people first, and I have that screenshot too. And I said, well, I don't have to make a post. That's just what I thought would help, because that is something I can prove where they're not listening to you. If I find out who made that comment, I can ask around about them. She said, I appreciate that. I don't mind posts being made, but we're still mid-court issues as well. Tomorrow I'm filing a restraining order. This will help me figure out who exactly is behind it. And if you did want to make a post, I would just ask you wait until that is done, because then we'd have court backing to say, hey, look, hey, they were lying about her. They did this and this is what the court ruled. And the court did not rule in her favor at all. The court basically ruled she was there illegally and needed to get the fuck out. So anyway, I said, okay, I can't find the original comments from the blacked out screenshot. I wonder why whoever sent that said to you that they would black out their name if they were actually Patawomeck. Like, I didn't understand why people were sending that with a name blacked out when the person's Patawomeck, because they should stand on what the fuck they said then, so we can verify that, in my opinion. But she said they posted a screenshot of the comment already blacked out, hiding their name. And about the person that posted the screenshot, it was on my candidate account, so the comment is gone. I don't know where the original screenshot was posted. I said it's odd for them to block out the name because now other Patawomecks cannot verify if that was a Patawomeck person making the claim or not. She said, I found it weird too because they haven't blocked out the names of the other people commenting in their comments about that they have screenshot. I'm thinking of calling the tribal office in the morning myself. I said it cannot be confirmed if that was even an actual Patawomeck person if we don't know who it is that said that. I would be cautious with how you approach tribal office because I wouldn't want to draw any attention to these issues, but also they may take offense. Even if you're a descendant, if you're not enrolled claiming Indigenous, because it might be an issue, claiming Indigenous business, it might be an issue because the legal definition of descendant versus enrolled member ties to the benefits we get under our native identity. And so if you just reach out, I just be prepared for any fallout related to that, because I know one of our cousins got fussed at, and let's see. It okay. Because I know one of our cousins got fussed at Powell for wearing our regalia when he's not enrolled, but is a descendant, and it was an altercation that blew up and is still getting resolved. So I just prep mentally, smoke some weed first, and if you get any pushback, just take it all as a learning lesson and express desire to connect in a way that they are good with if that does happen. I could just be paranoid, but I do think it would be good to have conversations about the proper terms to use in identity so as to avoid any possible issues. Because it's a delicate line as a descendant. If we negate our native ancestry, it's seen as Indigenous erasure, and if we claim it the wrong way, it's seen as whitewashing Indigenous representation. But I think a conversation with more tribal members and elders could be good for you, because then no one can tell you anything outside the community if the people inside have corrected and affirmed your identity. She said, the main reason for the call would be to let them know that I have never claimed membership and would not claim that, to reassure them that I'm taking the proper steps to enroll and would love any guidance they could get. Thanks for the heads up about your cousin. Bill said I could wear our tribal colors and regalia, but maybe I will wait for that. I said the cousin is part Colville, part Patawomeck, so part of the issue also is about his family had enrolled him in the Colville native side and he can't dual enroll with us. So that's also a different finicky situation. Currently, they're shut down for enrollment, so you might not get much help right now, even with honorary enrollment, but maybe it couldn't hurt to reach out and be in touch. Personally, I'm so anxious I didn't even reach out after I'm invited to reach out more because of my current money stuff, so I wanted to be more stable so I could pay. So I also don't feel like a burden in a space I have anxiety of putting myself somewhere asking for acceptance when I don't know if I belong, so I wanted to work on myself more before I take that next step to reach out more to our elders. I think we have a place when we aren't connected to express our family history and process it on our platforms. I do wonder if someone of the pretending claims on you come from people who are aware you're a descendant but are angry about representation due to how if you are raised more connected to your tribe, you're more marginalized statistically than someone who was raised culturally assimilated into the constructs of America. I wonder if that's why people are still calling you a pretendian while acknowledging the email Bill sent claiming you as a descendant. She said, no, they are outright saying I'm not Native. I have clearly stated I do not have the life experience of living on the reservation or being raised around my community. I acknowledge the color of my skin and the privilege it gives me, but I was also not raised white. I was just raised in the Indigenous community until I was about 7, just on the West Coast, and then I was raised Mexican on my other side of my family. Okay. So, Brittany Jones said I made this up. Hold on. Let's replay all this.
I have never said I've been connected to the Patawomeck since childhood, for one.
So right here, she just said she was not raised white. She was raised in Indigenous community. What Indigenous community were you raised in? Oh my God. What Indigenous, you just said you were not raised Potomac. It's not possible for you to be being raised in Indigenous community if you're not connected to your own community. That's hypocrisy.
Either. I clearly say that I hadn't. For 2, neither did my mom. She was part of the Native American Student Association in Lane County, and I never said that I grew up with the Native experience either. I clearly say that I hadn't.
You clearly told me that you were not raised white, that you were raised in the Indigenous community. This is a lie. Which is it? Because you're fucking lying, and I'm so tired of trying to figure out what's the truth and what's the lie with you. Just tell the fucking truth. Just tell the fucking truth. Just tell the fucking truth. And then here, was it here?
I am out here fighting for our communities. I've been reconnecting to our tribe for almost 5 years now, learning about our tribe and our history. I've never claimed to be connected to us, to our community as a child. You made that shit up.
She said I made that shit up. Bitch, I did not make that shit up. You literally messaged that to me. Stop fucking lying. There's nothing wrong with being a descendant. Where I'm telling you, you don't have an Indigenous lived experience, where you can't speak as an Indigenous woman just because you're a descendant, isn't because I don't think that the Indians are Native enough. It's because, and without the work of reconnecting, you do not have the background to speak on these fucking issues. And you need to stop flip-flopping with the facts. Stop fucking lying. Be honest. Tell the goddamn truth. And I said, yes, they were saying you're not Native on the same screenshot where Bill says you are a descendant, which reminded me of Fiona Moore admitting Lily Gladstone was definitely a descendant but called her a pretendian anyway. She said, of course, I also recognize that's not the same as being raised in my territory or on a reservation. And her thinking she was not raised white when she is, and so problematic. I said, I think the wording of race Indigenous on the West Coast in relation to ancestry from East Coast might trip people up. For example, I can't just say I was raised Indigenous down south where my dad worked on the Choctaw reservation in Mississippi, which is true, because then people think I'm a Choctaw pretendian, even though in this case I'm not claiming and never have claimed Choctaw. Versus if I say I'm a descendant of Seneca but was raised in Bobancher and my dad got hired on the res, so from there we got those teachings and identity that shows where I'm from, where I grew up, my sources for learning, etc. I understand sometimes arguing over semantics is bullshit and a way to dismiss or attack when people know what was meant. But in this case, I think it's because of the concept that being somewhere doesn't make you from there, or that Native community where people might attack you for that word choice of not raised white and on West Coast. Because even if we have our different ethnic backgrounds that is Native, racially, it's a fact that we are also raised white in terms of not only our privilege, but also our teachings. And I also said that, deaf in terms of ethnicity for me. But I said, for example, Mexico by definition is nationalism under whitewashed indigenous through tribalization and cultural appropriation. But I do know what you mean, that when we have our family history, we do have a different lived experience than those who don't. So I'm not negating that. Just letting you know why I think people would come after you for that word choice, because I'm trying to figure out why the pretendian allegations are so big. Like, why do they hate you this much? She said, I don't publicly say that I wasn't raised white. I'm smarter than that, LOL. And I only talk about where I grew up or how I grew up when it's brought up and when I'm just talking about my childhood. I can tell you why they hate me so much, because I dated Randy and a two-spirit and Native got, I don't know, I think it's P with a bunch of asterisks, I don't know. Even though they were in a full-blown relationship because they wanted to date Randy. So they started getting into inboxes and telling people I was just a white woman with a DNA test. Said, did you ever say that to anyone else that could have told others? Because to be honest, it can be seen as problematic for any person that presents as like us to claim we aren't raised white. So if anyone else has ever shared that with others, you have said that people will see you as a pretendian, because they will see that as you inflating your proximity to indigenous people. And that's not to insult you, just let you know that I think could be an origin source if you ever said anything. So mind you guys, Brittany Jones asking me, why haven't I told her these things before? I fucking did already. I already did this, tried to give her this labor, this effort in private. She still continued anyway. But anyway, I said, and that's not to insult you, just let you know I think it could be an origin source. If you ever said anything remotely like that to others, it could look pretty bad for you. Because at this point, I understand identity confusion and word confusion, and you need room to mess up to get it right, but it's just to let you know where I think people would absolutely go batshit on you is anything you said that sounds anything like the idea of thinking, even if you have mixed ancestry, you're not also raised white, because they will see that as denying your whiteness, even if you follow up with acknowledging white privilege. I thought their videos only on Randy, because remember when I didn't know who you were, like, you told me I liked the videos about you, and I was like, oh, damn. So, yeah. And then she goes on about her and Randy, and I was like, honestly, I saw that dude flirting with so many other girls, I didn't even fucking know they were together. But, yeah. And so then she messaged me, and so that was in November. Now we're back in January, November last year, now we're in January this year. She said, hey, people are wondering why only Bill endorses me, and I just tell them he's the closest one I have a relationship with, haha, but it got me thinking, would you be willing to endorse me for governor of Oregon? It could help me with building the trust of the community out here, seeing more of my native relatives supporting me. And then I said, I want to do a video on the situation, because at this point they're also invalidating Bill and all Patawomeck, posting videos that Patawomecks aren't valid natives, which I fucking addressed. I said I could give an endorsement if I do a full analysis of all of the issues, so that it's genuine and not just me being like, here's a filtered statement, and I think that would go farther than just a blanket statement. So yeah, winga po na tapawa. Fucking, at this point though, you know, like, cause y'all saw my PR plan, right? So where I had originally intended to go on my PR plan was to keep touching base on ways that I thought Brittany could improve and how in the future I think what she could do to actually win in the future. And I have maintained and focused all of my criticisms with the end goal of what could she do to correct these issues and everything about my playlist on her. And so, yeah, like, I can't just say, oh, I think you would do great without acknowledging all of the issues. And I think she wants you to just skip over the issues and act like everything is fine anyway, and you can't fucking do that. You have to be honest. You have to have transparency. And she said the endorsement is just a statement of support for my candidacy. They're usually short and simple, but fuck them for going after the Patawomeck. I said I was able to clear JT of pedo allegations. I think it could work out, right? Like, because that was my thing. Like, and no offense to JT Allen, it's like Native community hates that fucking dude, right? And for some valid reasons, though. For valid reasons. And he knows what he did. He's tried taking accountability. And you know what the difference is between JT and Brittany Jones, though? When people call out JT, he's like, oh, fuck, man. Yeah, that was me. My bad. I really did that. I fucked that up. I'm going to keep doing better in the future. And have you seen him do anything like that since? Not yet. If he does, we'll chew him out in the future. But we can't do that yet. Anyway, so, but Brittany, she fucking does not listen to people. Does not listen. I tried everything that I've told you guys publicly. I poured my heart and soul into trying to tell her privately. She does not give a fuck. I swear to God. I don't think she gives a fuck. Because look at how she fucking treated me. Anyway. But yeah, so I said, if I were to endorse any political candidate, I would do an analysis of the public issues before providing my final conclusion and endorsement, because I can't just get involved with politics without giving my opinion on the politics, or it doesn't feel genuine for me. So that's what I'd be more than happy to do. And now this is the final message. So, she knew my videos were coming. I told her what the fuck it was gonna be in advance. Okay? Whew. Now, we have gone over all of this. So, next up, let's just do a recap or review on everything that we've gone through. So, in the very first video that I ever did on her, we covered a lot, but we went over mostly like all of the initial posts about her when it came to the eviction from the Oregon Village. A lot of those initial posts were addressed here, as well as some of the claims about her lineage. We addressed all of that here as well. And I'm just going to play one snippet from here. It's just going to be about 13, you know what, nah, maybe about 20 minutes. I'm just going to play the end here, some of Brittany's Facebook post reactions up until we get to my conclusion, and then I'm going to stop, because y'all can go watch the original here. I'm going to put the captions on. I'm going to play this back at 1.5 speed here. And yeah, so, and I just want you guys to rewatch this part right here. It's that Brittany has made on some of the situation. You know, she said that a news agency falsely claimed that she said she was a member of the Patawomeck tribe. They think that because she said that she was connected to and claimed by family, that that means she's saying she's Patawomeck and calls it her tribe, that she's claiming to be a member. When she's made discussions about her tribe, she says it's hard for me to like read it in first person when it's not me saying it, but then be reading first person and talking about it in third. I don't know, read my mind. But because this platform posted that Brittany had made that claim, an actual tribal member called the tribal office to verify. Of course, they were told that Brittany is not a member, and now people think that she's lying. This is literally affecting possible future tribal connections. She's asked the platform to correct their claims 3 times now. Yeah. So yeah. Let's see. So here she does post about when she was a kid that she had gone to powwows and potlucks, but that she only recently started posting about her Native American heritage because she was not sure if what she was told was true, is what she said before. Sorry, I got a notification. I got distracted. Anyway. Let's see. So here the post, Brittany said, as I grew up, the jokes made me think that maybe I was really not Native. Maybe we're just another white family claiming it for clout or attention or who knows what. Then I did the ancestry test. I started really following my family heritage and building my family tree. I learned this year at 32 years old that we are Native. We are Patawomeck and Powhatan. That is just from my mom's side. I am now working on officially joining my tribe out in Virginia. I cannot tell you how excited I am, how relieved I am. It has also made me face another prejudice of what people believe an Indian should look like. We come in all shapes and colors. The government has tried to wipe us out by saying we need a certain amount of blood quantum to get their protection. Once there are not enough of us, they can take tribal lands, strip federal protections, and erase us. So before you tell someone you should only do this if you're a Native because you're making an assumption off their skin, stop. You're helping the government wipe us out. So here, this other post, she said, European immigrants are the first illegals. That is why I'm mixed in the first place. They almost wiped out my tribe. I would say, when you do look at it though, like, because even me, like, looking at my dad, you know, but, okay, so even for me, I have to acknowledge that I have a lot of European ancestry. And so for me, I don't feel like it's this whole like, oh, I am mixed because Europeans tried to wipe out my native side, right? Because to a point, yes, that's the only reason I exist. But I think we need to recognize when we descend from, if we have more European ancestors documented than Native ancestors documented, then we need to recognize, you know, that our descendancy was the method, was the tool intended to wipe out the tribe. And so I think that is why so many people do not like us calling ourselves natives. But also I think that is why we need to look at how we discuss it, because when we're talking about, you know, when you're mostly European, talking about I'm only mixed because Europeans try to wipe out my tribe, it seems to create a cognitive dissonance between the European ancestors you do have. So there are a lot of points to be made about, you know, just because you're mixed native doesn't mean you're not native. But on another level, sometimes I feel mixed natives are trying so hard to prove native that they're not acknowledging the mixed aspect either sometimes with the wording, and it can be like a hard balance to hit. But anyway, let's see, there was something else that I wanted to pull up. So she says Algonquian here, Patawomeck is Eastern Algonquian. It is considered Northeastern Woodland Algonquian. Let's see. So she was previously selling fry bread out of that location. I do have some feelings, you know, like we are Powhatan. I don't think she should be selling Apone because APONE, which is Powhatan bread, because if you don't have that and like the actual connection and the teaching and the recipes and everything, it's not appropriate to do so. But theoretically, right, it's like we are Powhatan, so if you're trying to do indigenous food from our ways, wouldn't you sell Apone instead of fry bread? You know, like I don't know. But she did sell fry bread. I feel like I feel very firmly that even if someone's a descendant, that still means they're technically Native American descent. Descendant of what? Native Americans. You know what I mean? Like, so that's just me. But when it comes, so I feel like there's like so when it comes to like representation, though, I do feel, are descendants Native? Yes, I think descendants are Native, and I think we have a place to speak on our family history, and our role is to be that bridge between the colonial world and the Native world through walking through both worlds in a way in which you don't get to when you're one or the other, because we are both, right? But I don't think that we are the representation. We are who support the representation, if that makes sense, in my opinion. But yeah, so right here, this is what I wanted to address. Brittany says that Powhatan is another name for Patawomeck. That is not true. Powhatan is not another name for Patawomeck. So Powhatan can, and here's where I'm at. If you do not know what it means to be Powhatan, you cannot claim you know what it means to be an indigenous woman when you don't even know what the fuck it means to be Powhatan. This is a problem, and the fact that she doesn't understand that this is an issue is why I tell her she's not actually fucking indigenous, okay? It's not just because she's a descendant, alright? There's nothing wrong with being a fucking descendant. Being a descendant in and of itself does not mean you're not Native enough. It is if you're misrepresenting your proximity to the community, your teachings, etc., then I'm gonna fucking tell you, nah, you're not indigenous then, bitch. Because hold on, that's not you reconnecting. That's not reconnection. That's speaking over people. That's misrepresentation. That's misinformation. That's cultural exploitation. That's cultural appropriation. And there's a big fucking problem with it. And to not acknowledge the harm this causes blows my fucking mind. Blows my fucking mind. I am fucking livid. Refer to multiple things. Powhatan was originally its own tribe. The original members of that Powhatan tribe, all of the living descendants have been absorbed into other tribes today. So the Powhatan name can refer to that original tribe, which is no longer technically in existence. It can refer to the Powhatan Confederacy, which could be either the 6 original tribes of the Powhatan Confederacy, or I think it was 32 that it became. Or it could refer to the Powhatan culture, or it could refer to the Powhatan language, or we could refer to the Powhatan man, Mamenatowick Wahanseneca. Patawomeck, at different parts of the tribe, at different times they were part of the Confederacy, but they were not always part of the Confederacy. So if you ask people off the top of their heads, some will say yes, some will say no, but they were in and out of the Powhatan Confederacy. But they've always been culturally Powhatan, linguistically Powhatan, religiously, spiritually Powhatan. But whether or not they were under the paramount chief, Mamenatowick Wahanseneca Powhatan, buried. So, Powhatan is not another name for Patawomeck, but all Patawomecks are Powhatan because all Patawomecks have Powhatan ancestry through Mamenatowick Wahanseneca Powhatan today. All Patawomecks have Powhatan language, Powhatan language, customs, Powhatan culture. So all Patawomecks are Powhatan, but not all Powhatans are Patawomeck. Does that make sense? So Powhatan is not another name for Patawomeck. I don't know where she got that from. That is not true at all. That is just, let's correct that. That is false. Okay. Let's see. I think that's it. That I want to address today. Oh, that was an accident. Must have clicked that. My bad, y'all. I was just up in there stalking. Apologies. Apologies. I'm just being creepy. So anyway. So here, she had made one more post about everything. It says, I'll keep yapping. It's indigenous. And I'm gonna, let's just give this a little whirl. Let's watch this. Okay, so she's not actually saying anything. It's just got music in the background. And it says, keep yapping, white lady. And then the overlay, it says, thanks, I will, because white men have tried silencing Native women since colonization. Is she talking here? No, that's music. It's just videos of her speaking. And it says, and I'm going to keep going until they hear us. Let's capture it now. So yeah. Alright. So here, she talks about the story of the 1666 massacre of the Patawomeck tribe. I'm gonna see what she has to say about that before we wrap it up. Okay, it's muted. Hold on. Do that.
We have a person of European descent whitewashing history of the Patawomeck, and I am here to correct that history. They are claiming that the 1666 massacre of the Patawomeck was the Patawomeck going into Jamestown and committing a massacre. That is not what happened. And I'm thinking I should make an...
And mind you guys, it's Patawomeck. She doesn't even know how to pronounce the tribe's name correctly. It's not Patawomeck, it's Patawomeck. Patawomeck was a pronunciation as well. It's Patawomeck. It's not... Like, I called it Patawomeck whenever I had never spoken to a Patawomeck person before. I'm just throwing that out there.
Educational video moving forward on different aspects of Native American history that have been whitewashed historically. There was a...
Who the fuck was saying that?
Confederacy called the Powhatan Confederacy, similar to the Iroquois Confederacy and others throughout the indigenous communities. The Powhatan Confederacy had my tribe, the Patawomeck, the Pamunkey, and a few others along the Potomac River. At one point, the Pamunkey and other tribes wanted to take a stand against Jamestown. My tribe did not want to take a stand with them. Part of me wishes they did. When the Pamunkey and other tribes attacked Jamestown, they unfortunately did not win. And as a result of that, our tribe's chief was charged with treason. He had to travel out of state, and eventually...
You see, what she's not including here is at this point, so when Patawomeck tribe was affiliated under Seneca Powhatan, all of that would be mostly pre-Pocahontas getting stolen. After all of that, people were really like the Patawomeck tribe really couldn't connect under Seneca again like that because there's no trust. That trust was then lost. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you look at the timeline, that's what I think. But, so, yeah, that would be the end. Like, the Patawomeck tribe would have no security with the other Powhatan tribes by 1666 because of what happened with Pocahontas, in my opinion.
After his trial, he was acquitted, and he got a coin of safe passage to go back to Virginia. During his trip back, he was assassinated. It was after his assassination that there was an order from the Virginia colonies to massacre, to wipe out the Patawomeck tribe. So the 1666 massacre of the Patawomeck is not the Patawomeck massacring Jamestown.
The way she says Potomac makes me think she's saying Patawomeck. But anyway, so the Wahonga Noche being murdered thing. So he was given a coin by the state of Virginia in show of good faith after they were like accusing him of murder. So he had gone to fucking court. He won the goddamn murder trial. They gave him this like silver coin or whatever as a show of like good faith theoretically. And then he never made it back home. So we assumed that he's been assassinated because why the fuck else would he have not come back home? And you know what we found was that medallion that was given to him by the state that was found on the path of that he would have taken to return. So we do believe he was, you know, potentially kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered that way. But there's no direct proof and to know for sure, but that's what is assumed. With the 1666 massacre, the genocide, earlier when I was telling you guys about, you know, a theoretical story, that example, you know, of like where the English would poison the dogs and the animals so they wouldn't alert us, and they would use their weapons to surprise us and strong arm us, you know, weapons and technology and tools we didn't have. So, yeah. And they wouldn't have been able to do any of that. If the Powhatans had never helped the colonists to begin with, and had let the fucking colonists die, they never would have been able to do any of that. But that's what we get for, like, basic human decency, am I right? Anyway, okay, let's see what else she said.
It is Jamestown in the Virginia colonies massacring the Patawomeck. Very few of us survived, and those of us that did were taken in by settlers or sent off into servitude, and there are even stories of being sent off into slavery. There are just over 2,000 enrolled members of the Patawomeck tribe today. I am not enrolled, however, I am connected to my enrolled family. Currently, they are claiming that I am a descendant of the settlers, which I am that as well, because we did mix. Through my own reconnection journey, I sent my DNA into the Patawomeck tribe, and the tribal historian compared it to his own, and we are related. You cannot lie about DNA in that way. You cannot manipulate it. You cannot force it. I think it's funny that today, a descendant of...
You can falsify DNA tests, so I don't know where that argument is going. I don't know why you're throwing that in there, because that can be done, but whatever.
Jamestown is coming after a descendant of the Patawomeck. How ironic. Am I white presenting? Yes, I am. Do I acknowledge my white privilege? Yes, I do, which is why I am using it to fight for our communities. We have a person of European descent, whitewashing history.
Okay, so yeah.
Of the Patawomeck.
I feel like she was, talking about servitude, and maybe she was just not going into details. I feel like... Also, Brittany keeps saying that she's fighting for our communities. I have never once seen her ever fight for Native community. I've never seen her fight for a Native community ever. I don't understand why she keeps saying that. What has she done for Native community besides embarrass us? Seriously. Can somebody tell me one good thing she ever did for Natives? Technically, what she said was true. It was just so broad, and it didn't go into details. I feel like it doesn't really explain the horrors of the 1666 genocide. But whatever. It's technically true. Is it technically true? Yes. So yeah. And also, let's see what in this post. Now I'm gonna replay they were commenting about Bill Deyo, and they were commenting about so here is what they were saying about William Deyo. So here's where I believe she's part of direct harm to the tribe, and I'm gonna replay this. This part where they were speaking on William Deyo, where they were speaking on the tribe and all of this because of her. This is part of her being involved in harm caused to the tribe. She never did anything to try and correct this. She's still never spoken out on this. And all she's ever done instead is try to claim she's more Native than she actually is. As well as other things as well. But I'm over here like, look. Brittany has put herself in a position where it's like the cost of doing business in a way, where no matter what, when you run for office, you're going to have lovers and haters no matter what. There's just not going to be, and that's already true for the general person, but I feel like Brittany's a special case because a lot of what she says and does is extremely polarizing. And so I feel like no matter, she's just not going to be somebody who is socially palatable to the mainstream. And no, for that reason alone, I don't think she's used to having the type of public, the weight of public perception on her that from her previous experience, just being public on social media, compared to the past few years, she decided to go on a political campaign route. That has really put her into a different sphere of, what is it when people are like scrutinizing? Yeah, public scrutiny, like that's, I don't think she's used to this level of public scrutiny because, it's very different. I think the attention you get from being on social media, from being a business owner, is not the same as what you're going to get from being in a political campaign. And I think that adjustment period is something that hasn't really, I feel like she's still handling the situation from a social media perspective rather than having the response of something that is going to be a good political strategy, if that makes sense, in terms of, I don't agree with the cease and desist comment on that post. Even if you don't like the post, that's not how you go about that, that made her look bad. Because if you're in actual political office, you have to allow people to talk shit about you, even if you agree or disagree. And if you can't just go be like, well, that's a lie, that's misinformation, without explaining, clarifying, and coming with the truth, And then you can say that's a lie, that's misinformation. But if I just come up here and I say, Brittany Jones is a fucking bitch and fuck you, people are going to be like, what the fuck? How's Brittany Jones a bitch? What the fuck? That's just mean. And now I look like a bitch because I didn't sit here and say, oh, here's what she did that was hurtful. All I did was just sit there and insult her for no fucking reason right there, right? That does not make Brittany look bad, that makes me look bad. So that's kind of the similar situation where Brittany did that on that post. You just said you were spreading misinformation. It didn't make her look good. It didn't make them look bad. It made her look bad, But if she had come to them... Okay, I'm still letting this play anyway, but this is... Yeah, I don't know. This is just taking way longer on a different sidetrack than I thought it was going to be. Sorry, I'm not processing. Okay, here we go. Let me just keep playing it for a second. Hold on. And she had like shown the text messages where the owner agreed to let her move in and things like that, that would be different, because then it would be like, sup bitch, cards on the table. You know what I mean? So it's like how you approach it. Like if you respond to these types of things, you have to know how the public is going to perceive you. And I don't know if she does or does not have any sort of PR team. If she does have a PR team, I'd be interested as to what they advise her, if anything, because sometimes, you know what, you got the best PR team in the fucking world. If you don't listen to them, there's nothing they can fucking do for you. You know what I mean? I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't know if it's like, she does have an advisor she's ignoring, she does not have an advisor, or she has an advisor giving her bad advice. I don't know. But, I'm just saying, I think some of the responses, like, don't go well for her. But, let's see. So let me get into this Bill Deyo post, and then we'll get into everything else here. So, first of all, in the comments here, so first of all, we're going to watch this video, and we'll address some of these issues. But here it says, Oregon Governor candidate Brittany Jones claiming this is her cousin who is Native American, who, like her, is presenting as white. All research on the tribe goes back to him and him only. All research on the tribe does not only go back to him. You are misinformed. He is our tribal historian emeritus, and as such, he has published a shit ton on our history, but he's not the only source. Matter of fact, another source you could go read is the book 1666 by Laura Chilton. Check out. Okay, now we're getting into examples of where Brittany Jones has caused direct harm to the Patawomeck tribe. Linwood Costello. Check out Raven Costello. There's just, I could go on and on and on, but there's just so many different sources. You could go check out each different tribal website themselves. He is just a very big source on it, but he is not the only source. He happens to be one of my favorite sources, though. And yeah, so yeah. But just because an indigenous person presents as white or black doesn't mean they aren't indigenous. So, are you going to tell me that my father's not indigenous next? My father is indigenous, and if you don't think he is, I just kind of think you're a piece of shit. Okay? And mind you, William Deyo has more indigenous ancestors documented than my father. Let that sink in, bitches. Fucking, the biggest difference between William Deyo and Brittany Jones is William Deyo's ancestors are documented. Brittany Jones has no documented ancestry. And that's Patawomeck. All her documented ancestors are English on that side. My little sister, she's just as native as I am. That bitch is blonde hair, blue eyes. We got the same dad. We got the same nosies. I got my dad's nose. And he got it from his dad. Yeah. You know how, I've said this before and I'll say it again. You know how parents always did that? I've got your nose. I've got your nose. Well, look, bitch, I got your fucking nose. How about that? I got your, you know what I'm saying? Like, anyway. Fucking, but, so, when it comes to all of that, like, I don't understand this whole, do you not understand how interracial relationships and phenotypes passing through work? That just screams ignorance and potentially racism, in my opinion. But that's just me. That's just me. Can you say indigenous erasure? Anyway, fucking, so one comment here says, related to Liar Watha Warren, someone said, oh my god, that is hilarious, laughing my ass off, spot on, dying, bless your heart, Bill. Says, ha ha ha, this is the best one, her cousin must be proud. Someone says, can't stop watching this, it's hilarious. Someone says, funniest thing I've ever seen, kind of like a blooper video. Someone said, right, or a comedy set for Saturday Night Live. Someone said, I went to comment on this and accidentally typed in the wrong spot, and look what Taco gave me about her. Ah, god damn it. So, I fucking hate this stupid AI chat bot. I fucking hate it. Anyway, so at this part, I read through this, and I'm just going to skip reading through that, because we just need to get, I just want to get back to the rest of this. That's in a different context. Okay, here we go. DNA test. I just know my genealogy. I just know my dad. I don't give a fuck about none of that. Anyway, so that's what this one guy commented. And someone else said he can't even say the tribe name correctly. Yes, he can. You are just fucking ignorant. And I'm going to address that too. Someone said, nope, you noticed that too. And he named Matoka by her Disney name, Pocahontas. Completely disrespectful. Let's address that right now. Oh, you know what? Okay, hold on. Honestly, what's disrespectful is people who are not Powhatan or non-native calling Pocahontas Matoka. Matoka is meant to be a sacred name kept in secret because we believe that strangers using it in general, and particularly colonizers using it, would cause harm to her. A lot of fucking people who are Patawomeck and who are Powhatan do not believe in you guys using the name Matoka, but yet you keep colonizing that too because you won't let us have shit and you won't give us our fucking bones back. Fuck you guys. And then Star said, yeah, Forrest Gump here can learn to, oh, hell no, did you just call Bill Deyo Forrest Gump? Life's like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're gonna get. Anyway, so learn the same Matoka the way the rest of us have. She's not a Disney. So they're out here insulting Bill Deyo, insulting the validity of the tribe because of Bill Deyo, and then they're doing all of this because of Brittany Jones, and Brittany Jones doesn't think she's causing harm to the tribe. She doesn't take any accountability for this or responsibility. She doesn't understand how her words, her claiming native childhood, native stuff, is a problem. And then flip-flopping, denying it when I got the fucking proof. Disney princess, she's our stolen sister. All right. If you are not Powhatan, your opinion on Pocahontas is irrelevant. Pocahontas was Powhatan. So how are you going to tell Powhatan people that we don't know as much about Pocahontas as someone who isn't Powhatan? Why don't you go check with Pocahontas' people? Oh wait, that would be us. All right, and let's correct the issue on the name situation. Let's correct the issue on that, bitch. First of all, so here we go. We've got William Deyo's genealogy. First of all, we got William Deyo's genealogy. All right, he's got several indigenous lines, but let's show you some examples here. If you take it from these porch lines here, we see here. Oh, look, what do you know? Mary right here. She's Patawomeck. Okay, so then I go into his genealogy. We're gonna skip through that. That's in here as well. And then after that, I go through showing the Mattaponi website and Mattaponi posts on the Pocahontas name. After that, I went into the showing the Powhatans' belief about that name, and was this a valid name, and all of that, and the connection between the tribes related to this history, and all of that and this history. So now we're going to go back here, where I had to go do the work to correct that. And validating Pocahontas and telling Powhatans we don't know shit about Pocahontas. Y'all want to weaponize Pocahontas for your content. Use Pocahontas for clout. Use Pocahontas for your content. But then you don't give a fuck about Powhatans teaching the actual fucking history of Pocahontas. Shameful. Fucking shameful. Anyway. She's my stolen ancestor. She's our actual stolen relative. All indigenous people, yes, we're all relative, we're all cousins. But if it's not your tribe, don't try to compare what it's like for the general indigenous experience compared to the pain of an actual person telling you their ancestral connection to this missing and murdered indigenous person. I'm fucking tired of it, to be honest. I'm just tired of it. I don't give a fuck. So here we got people calling Bill Deyo a pretendian, someone else saying winner. And then someone else is showing where here, for federal recognition, oh wait, no, this is Googling the same thing I had Googled before. I was trying to copy that and open that. Where are they showing here? I believe it's the federal recognition paperwork, yep, of the Potomac Indian tribe. They're sharing that. They have a problem with it. The Potomac tribe and the Mattaponi Nation both put their federal recognition in around the same time. And yeah, I just, ugh. And someone says that the chief is a white man. Whether we are mixed or not has nothing to do with whether or not we are also native. And acting like, oh, mixed natives are invalid is indigenous erasure and genocide. It's literally you whitewashing us when we still have our ancestral connection. We still have our language. We still have our culture. We still have our ways. We still have our teachings. Just because we haven't been federally recognized doesn't mean we aren't still fucking here. So trying to act like, oh, we don't deserve recognition because you don't care, because you fucking don't give a fuck that we went through forced rape, forced intermarriage, slavery. You don't give a fuck about that. You don't give a fuck about genocide. Oh, okay. Ew. But okay. And someone says, this actually makes me mad. It makes you mad. You're contributing to indigenous erasure and genocide. Why are you so hateful? You have nothing to be mad about. It says, these are white people. No, we're not white people. You're going to literally call my dad white. You're going to call my pop white. You're going to call my grandmother white. My mom's white. So you can call me white. But if you call my dad and my dad's family white, I think you're just a racist piece of shit. Anyway, so, fucking, and they're saying they hope they get rejected because federal recognition brings land and money free of change. Y'all know shit. Y'all are fucking stupid as fuck. Oh, so when the fuck are you gonna leave indigenous land then? Because why the fuck are you here? Because fucking colonizers, you're still fucking taking over indigenous land, bitch. Then go back to fucking Europe. Fuck you. Anyway, so people putting laughing emojis. Someone else said this is a true pretendian right here. Someone said there's legislation presented to Congress with nothing but disguised allegations to federally recognize the tribe. Hazardous to both sides of the issue. Hazardous to what? Suck my dick, bitch. Fuck you. Anyway, so I'm over here like, so Brittany Jones has people laughing at our tribal historian emeritus and laughing at the concept of our federal recognition. She has done nothing to correct the harm of any of this, shows no remorse for any of this, causes so much harm to Potomac name, jeopardizing this public perception jeopardizes Potomac federal recognition, and she does not fucking give a fuck about the fucking harm she causes. Instead, she's more pissed off if you talk about it. If you talk about how she's part of this, how she's part of Indigenous erasure. She's part of erasing in the Potomac tribe, and she gives no fucks. I'm livid. If I were the cause of people invalidating us at a time our recognition is in the air in this way, I would not fucking sleep at night. And you know what the fuck I'd be doing? I would be asking members of my community what I can do to do better instead of arguing with them. After they tried fucking telling you privately. So anyway, I also keep doing an analysis of that, but that's just to show you guys the proof of where I believe harm is caused. And you can finish watching on that video. So that was part 1, and a lot more is in part 1. Part 1 is like a 7-hour video. And in there, you know, I literally go over everything, you know, like a lot more about history, a lot more of the post on her and everything like that. So there's a lot more there if you want to go check that out. The second one that I did was Brittany Jones running for governor of Oregon using Native identity, previously ran for president. So we talked about traditional career paths, what was her campaign work, we reviewed her website, we discussed descendants versus reconnecting natives, and we looked over some of her posts on Native identity. Dude, the bubble just popped in my fucking eye. Okay, maybe that was a mistake. But I was trying to like relax. I get real stressed. It's making my blood pressure rise. But we talked about community issues of Native identity used in the campaign. You know, I talked about action items for her to improve community relationships. I also discussed 10 talking points that I believe she should address for a better chance at winning. You know, so along the way, I've also tried to still, even with criticisms of what she's done, I've still tried to say what I think she could do to still do well as well. And all of that. And how she could show efforts for leading community efforts. So then I went over why I believed, you know, what the material we just reviewed was an example of her causing harm to the Potomac tribe because of them denying that. And when I reviewed the Potomac identity used in her Oregon of Governor campaign, I have also started discussing why I do not believe she gets public backing from Potomac's. And I've also discussed why I do not believe people like her, based on her use of Native identity and missing and murdered Indigenous people in her campaigns. And I also discussed why the timing of all of this happening with us getting our land taken and their recognition in the air has been a point of harm for the Potomacs, because now it's more damage control that has to be done. It's more harm, it's damage that needs to be repaired. Instead of supporting the tribe, it's causing the tribe to potentially sink, you know? She never, like, and I've been discussing, you know, like what she could be doing to make connections in the community, to build the relationships, etc. And that I've addressed whether, you know, the Bill Deyo did confirm her lineage. I've also addressed that she's not claimed the Potomac community because it's not documented. Those are both true statements. And she isn't going to ever connect with Potomac community if she doesn't fucking acknowledge that, in my opinion. So then the next stream I did was a 2-for-1. I covered this other chick, Tawana, and then I covered Brittany Jones after that. So the first part was about some other shit. So we mostly were reading a Reddit thread about Brittany Jones and reacting to the Reddit thread and the comments about the text campaign and some of the conversations that came up in the middle of all of that. And so, yeah, and I was also sick in this post. So, when I was doing this video. So, you know. But in this video, what's most important to me is I did do her mom's side genealogy. I showed you a little bit of her dad's side too, but we mostly did her mom. I showed you all of her mom's side genealogy, and there are no indigenous ancestors documented connected to any Powhatan or Patawomeck tribe. And whenever I did her dad's side genealogy, I found no connection to any sort of Chickasaw, Blackfoot, or Choctaw nation. As you know, so I'm just throwing that out there as well. Yeah, she mostly has European ancestry that is documented publicly online, and my sources on that are here. After that, this was all about how could Bill Deyo, why am I saying Bill Deyo? Because I was thinking about him. How could Brittany win? What would it take for her to win? You know, and I made a 1 to 3 year PR plan for her, and I discussed my logic going into this plan and coming out of this plan, and that was the video. This is a 1 to 3 year plan for her to fix this PR situation. What to do to address every single fucking criticism I made, what she could do to combat that criticism and still win. I addressed that. But she doesn't think that's unbiased enough for me to discuss how I think, despite all of these issues, she could still do well in the future if she were to put that effort in. But I don't think, based on her video messages that we've had since all of this, I don't see this plan working for her, because she's not on a path of accountability. She doesn't care about truth and reconciliation. And until she does, she's not going to have value alignment with anything I have to say, for sure. But yeah, so after that, I did a reaction to a video called about Sandy Boucher, and that's another fucking reason I'm so fucking offended. She called my videos, my playlist, propaganda, because a lot of the teachings that I have been putting into these videos, I can tell you the fucking sources, and all my sources are linked in the description and in the comments and things like that. And so one of the people who I've gotten a lot of good information from is Sandy Boucher, and to call these types of videos just propaganda really pisses me off. It really does. So why claim native ancestry and the concept of being a descendant? So that's the video where we went over, you know, who is a descendant, what is a descendant. We are discussing misrepresenting proximity to community. And we also discussed descendantism and what does it mean to be indigenous in this video. And we did a reaction to Sandy Boucher video about indigenous, or closer to pretendian. What does it mean to be a descendant, you know? We talked about Brittany Jones. And I did a reaction to other posts about the situation, and that included the posts that have been going around about her DNA results. Okay. My very last video I did on her was the reactions to the news media publications on her, as well as other posts that were made about her and that she had made. So, in this video, we also discussed how to pronounce Patawomeck. My sources on that and everything like that was also discussed in this live stream, and how she was saying Patawomeck wrong. In this video, where is it? So first of all, and y'all can see, it's real hard to pause someone on a good screen. I can't even do it to myself. But in this video, so this article calls her a member of the Native American community.
Please confirm that your descendant is not the same.
And I'm just gonna let this part of this play, and then let's see if I can search the transcript yet. Oh, I can. Okay, great. So, I'm just going to play this little clip and then we're going to skip through the transcript a little. In May's Democratic Party. A member of the LGBTQ and Native American communities, Jones also made an unaffiliated run for president in 2024. So here, this is false in terms of saying she's a member of Native American communities. She's not, okay, just getting your lineage confirmed that you're a descendant is not the same as being a member of a community. Being a descendant is not the same as being a member of the community. I'm not even qualified to say I'm a member of the community. That's a sacred role, and it's a journey that you're just beginning. You don't just say, oh, now I'm part of the community because I just found out who my 10th great-grandfather was a few years ago. Like, that's not the same. If you never met the members of your tribe, you've never been to your tribal events, were not raised in your ways, don't know your culture, don't know your language, you're not part of the Native American community. So she might have far distant ancestry as verified by Bill Deyo, even if no Native American ancestors are documented on Family Search, which is, you know, why she cannot be verified, because no one can find any documentation of her ancestry, public records. But because it's been verified by tribal historian emeritus Bill Deyo, her descendancy was verified. However, she has not done her work to become part of the community or to be a part of the community, but has still tried to speak on behalf of the community, which is why she's frowned upon. But I feel like this right here needs a correction issued, you know, like that she's just a descendant. In my opinion, I find that's misrepresentation, and I haven't decided. Like, part of me places blame on the news outlet, part of me places just blame on her. You know, part of me places blame on both. Part of me is like, maybe they shouldn't be responsible, because then I don't want to open the door for news outlets deciding who is or isn't Native. So maybe I should just put the full responsibility on her for misrepresenting the truth of her proximity to the community. But on another level, I said proximity. What the fuck, captioner? Proximity. Anyway, I did not say you there. God damn it. Fuck. Okay. Anyway. But so part of me places the sole responsibility on her because she's the one who needs to accurately represent her connection. Part of me does place some responsibility on the news outlets, because I don't feel like they have journalistic integrity. I don't feel like they do research, and I don't feel like they vet their sources. Just my opinion. Because I think what they allow to be spoken on their platforms does matter. But alright, let's actually react to this video now.
Unseating a powerful incumbent is one of the hardest things to do in politics. However, my next guest is trying to do just that. Army Reserve veteran and progressive activist Brittany Jones is challenging Governor Tina Kotek in May's Democratic primary. A member of the LGBTQ and Native American communities,
and mind you guys, I just want to ramble about this, but getting your ancestry confirmed is not the same as necessarily being a part of the community. And it's okay for that to be where you're at. And so right here, do we need to replay that? Because they just introduced her as a member of the Native American community. But let's see if she corrects them. Let's see if she corrects them. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just do not agree with misrepresenting your proximity. Be honest. I am at the beginning of my journey. There's nothing wrong with that. I won't judge you for being at the beginning of your journey too. I'm at the beginning of mine. There's nothing wrong with being at the beginning of journey when it comes to connecting with the members of your tribe. I just hold heavily this because it's such a hard journey for me. That is why when I know what that journey is and I see someone else not doing that journey but using the identity for their political gain, I see that as a problem. Okay, let's keep watching.
Jones also made an unaffiliated run for president in 2024. Brittany Jones, welcome to Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you for having me here.
Getting the party nomination over an incumbent governor is a long shot, to say the least. So why are you running?
I'm running because it's time for change. You know, when you're out there...
So you notice she does not correct here. Oh, I'm not actually a member of the Native American community. I just have some ancestry. You know what I mean? It's like if I said, hey, I'm a member of the Black community. Would you believe me? Because, you know, my 5th great-grandfather is African-American, but I am not a Black woman. I do not have a lived experience as a Black woman. But she tries to play like she has a lived experience as a Native woman when she does not. Anyway, but let's just keep going a little bit. Hold on.
At these rallies, at these protests, at the county meetings in different areas of Oregon.
So yeah, y'all can go replay that whole thing. It's in my last stream, but we're just gonna keep going. Okay, right here. Wait, not yet. Hold up. I'm looking for something. My bad. Oh, here it is. Okay, hold on.
What do you think about the administration attack on sanctuary cities and states?
I think it's an attack on all of us. As somebody who is mixed indigenous of Patawomeck descent, a lot of the people...
Okay, You're right here saying you're identifying as mixed Indigenous of Patawomeck descent, but you're not saying that you have far distant ancestry. You're not saying you're also of European descent. You're mostly European. Why don't you identify as you just European? Because that's what you mostly are. That's what you've been raised as. That's what, you know what I mean? So I'm just so, like, you know what I mean? You're here just identifying as mixed Indigenous. You were not raised with a mixed Indigenous perspective. You do not have that. That is right there an outright lie. There is a big difference between having distant ancestry and having a mixed perspective. Oh my God. Okay. So, in my opinion, it's like we've done her genealogy. Go watch that. It's all European ancestors documented. She didn't find out she was Native at all until 2021. And so to get up on here and say, oh, now I'm mixed Indigenous of Patawomeck descent, but you can't even say Patawomeck, right? And you don't have a lived perspective as a mixed Indigenous Patawomeck woman when you've never connected to the tribe, that is problematic. This right here is problematic. You didn't correct them at the beginning either when they said you're a member of the Native American community. That's where I have a problem with you.
I have never said I've been connected to the Patawomeck since childhood, for one.
So we just saw right there where she's claiming, you know, descent of the Patawomeck tribe. Here, we see here she's claiming, you know, Indigenous connection since childhood. I think she thinks because she doesn't understand how her statements are flip-flopping. I think she thinks because she makes all of these statements, that means she's being transparent, right? Or maybe she thinks that is enough to clarify, but it's not. Misrepresenting your identity and then coming back and flip-flopping with isn't transparency, it's just flip-flopping. You have to, if you can't just say I'm a mixed Indigenous woman of Patawomeck descent and then say, oh, I've been telling people my ancestry was far back. That's not what that means, bitch. That's not what the fuck you said. And you said that on news. The news.
For two, neither did my mom. She was part of the Native American Student Association in Lane County, and I never said that I grew up with the Native experience either.
I just... Okay.
I say I had a connection to the Native community out here as a child, and it ended when my mom graduated college.
Yeah. My dad's connection to being Native never fucking could have ended. How could, and I just don't, that's not, knowing Native people out there, and then, oh my goodness. And then right here, you're saying, as I grew up, the jokes made me think that maybe I was really not Native. So first you're saying that you never claimed to be Native as a kid. Now, but then how did jokes growing up make you think you were not Native as a kid growing up then? You and I have varying different interpretations of these words. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I just, oof.
I say I had a connection to the Native community out here as a child, and it ended when my mom graduated college. I literally sent Bill my DNA. We are blood relatives. And I sent him my genealogy.
But, you know, I wonder, Bill confirmed his DNA or whatever. Her genealogical records are not public on Family Search, or in terms of any Native ancestors documented. Her grandparents, her mom's parents, are on Family Search, and I linked their Family Search previously on my YouTube, and we would click through the whole fucking thing. Not a single Native ancestor is documented. Not a single family line that would connect to the Patawomeck tribe is documented. And yeah, so the only thing that I've seen from Bill Deyo is the GEDmatch verification, not genealogical records. So that's all I can confirm for myself to having seen.
So maybe you should have came and verified shit with me before you posted shit that could cause harm to a Native woman.
But I said all of that. All of what she said has been shown already. So why do I need to double verify if I've already posted and shown what the fuck you just said? You know what I'm saying? And how is me correcting you on Patawomeck history when you don't even know what Powhatan means? You don't even know how to say Patawomeck. You don't even know Patawomeck. How is that causing harm to you? How is you letting you know not to lie about how connected you are to Powhatans causing harm to you? Just how? I don't understand. Because then you can't benefit from lying about how close you are with Powhatans? Huh. Anyway.
Especially a relative.
Okay, but if I don't know how we're related, then how are you really a relative? If you cannot tell me how we're related, how are you a relative? The difference between me and other Powhatans that I've gotten lucky to connect with, they can tell me how we're related because we know our lineage, and we can pull up our family records and our genealogical records, and we can confirm how we're related. You call people relative without even knowing how you're related to them.
I am out here fighting for our communities. I've been reconnecting to our tribe for almost 5 years now.
You see, my focus has been maintaining my relationship with my father first. She says she's been focused on maintaining a relationship with the tribe, but Bill Deyo is the only individual who can confirm that he has a positive relationship with her. Not a single other Powhatan or Patawomeck person that I've spoken to is willing to vouch for her or can verify her records or anything like that. And she's never shown proof of her genealogy, and she's never shown proof of having a relationship with any Patawomeck community member besides getting her lineage confirmed, which in my opinion is not the same thing. And talking about Bill Deyo, about whether or not he shared her lineage with other people, you know, that was a conversation had as well, but to me that's not the same. And I don't know what work she ever did for Patawomeck. She didn't even want me to make the videos correcting people about the misinformation they were spreading about Bill Deyo and the Patawomeck tribe because of her. And she's never done anything to try and correct those issues, and she's spreading Indigenous erasure about the Patawomeck tribe every time she says the fucking name wrong. You know what I mean? And she's calling herself a community member, but she's not part of the community. She's never done the work to make herself an active community member.
Learning about our tribe and our history, I've never claimed to be connected to us, to our community as.
And are we watching the same interview? We just played this interview where she called herself a mixed Indigenous woman of Patawomeck descent right here. We just fucking saw that. So yeah, she has been claiming that.
The child. You made that shit up.
And what the fuck? No, I didn't make this shit up. You posted it on Facebook here, and you also sent it to me in a private message on TikTok as well. Where you say, I don't say I wasn't publicly raised white, I'm smarter than that, so you're just denying it in public, right? Because here you literally say, I was not raised white, I was raised in the Indigenous community until I was about 7. So I didn't make that shit up. You fucking said it, and now you're fucking lying about it. Or is that just another, oopsie, I forgot, like you did with that stalking protection order?
I am out here fighting for our communities. I've been reconnecting to our tribe for almost.
Oh, that's the one we just watched.
You failed at doing due diligence without coming to me.
I did come to you, so therefore I didn't fail at doing due diligence. Now did I? I showed the text messages, the messages. I told you exactly what the fuck I was gonna do, and that's exactly what the fuck I did. So I did what I said I was gonna do. So that means I did do my due diligence now, didn't I?
Because that is due diligence, and I had an open door for you.
And I have maintained inputting your quotes, your words, every step of the way. And I was not done yet with my coverage. You know? So there's so much that happened. There's only so much time I have in a certain time space. I didn't have questions yet to ask you yet. But you know what I would have done if you wouldn't block me because you're a pussy ass bitch and too afraid to come stand up for your fucking self, little bitch? Fucking, I would have invited you on panel to respond, but you know, you blocked me because you're a fucking pussy ass bitch who's too afraid to stand up and talk to a real Patawomeck person about ancestry. Got it. Because I can put you on the phone with my dad real quick. Anyway, it's because you know you can't fucking debate me on this shit.
You know that. I told you in our messages to come talk to me if you had any questions.
And I told you in our messages that I was going to cover everything and give an analysis on everything that happened leading up to why people didn't like you. So for you to respond to me with such vitriol, because that's exactly what the fuck I did, and act like, oh, I didn't tell you what I was doing up front, or I didn't do enough to talk to you about that, is fucking controlling. It's disturbing. It's wild. And it shows you can't take criticism. It shows you would not be a good governor.
You failed to do that. You
literally failed at reconnecting so far. You are literally claiming to be an indigenous person, a member of the Native community as a mixed indigenous person without reconnecting first. That is you failing to reconnect. The fuck? And I'm literally telling you, you will never go on a good way with your reconnection journey if you keep doing that. You have to stop, admit where you're fucking up, turn around, and do better first. Reroute. Because this path you're on is only going to lead you to further problems. And I tried helping you privately first. Then all I could do after you would not stop with this, all I could do was react to what's happening publicly. If you wanted this to be addressed privately, why the fuck are you going on the news, on podcasts, on media outlets, trying to represent Native people, but then you expect to be corrected privately? That's very white woman.
not a journalist. You are not an investigator because...
And I never fucking claimed to be a journalist or an investigator, so stop fucking claiming to be mixed indigenous because you're not.
Anyone that did that would have came and talked to me, the source.
I did come and talk to you, the source, you dumb fucking bitch.
Goodbye.
Just because you didn't process what the fuck I was doing doesn't mean I didn't fucking come talk to you. So I sent the first message in response to her first set of messages here. And then she sent this one after this last one. And so then this was the response after, which I've already played at the beginning of this video. But yeah, and I already read all of this at the beginning of the video. But I just wanted to, you know, highlight those notes again in context of what we've been discussing. And so, yeah, after that, I went into the pronunciation of Patawomeck, and showed the sources on that as well. And yeah. And I had some other commentary on that also here. And yeah. Okay, oh, and here we go. She also keeps trying to refer to herself or refer to general indigenous issues as First Nations. First Nations is not a pan-indigenous concept that refers specifically to people in Canada. Hold on.
Everything crumbles. So if we can go back and heal that trauma and heal that wound instead of attacking it more, we can build a better, stronger community for everybody, not just First Nations.
You say you want...
Why are you speaking for First Nations? You're not even in fucking Canada, bitch. And this is why you should stop trying to speak for indigenous people, because you're not fucking connected, because you don't know the fucking issues. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about when you speak on this fucking shit. Ugh. Anyway. went on a bunch of other comments about this shit as well. And here we go. Here's another one.
In terms of land stewardship, you talked about your Native American background. We've got less than a minute left, but just talk about how you feel about...
Y'all didn't really talk about her Native American background. You notice that she can't elaborate on any Native American background because she doesn't have a background to elaborate on. She just keeps saying, I'm Native, I'm Native, I'm Native. I'm putting that out there.
Stewarding the land and also controlling the land.
So
we don't believe in owning the land when it comes to controlling it. Whew. And in terms of stewarding it, we don't believe in desecrating it. It's a sacred fucking place. We believe in taking care of it, and it takes care of us. Jesus Christ.
control is a negative word for it, because First Nations, we lived with the land. We worked with the land.
First Nations is a Canadian concept. It refers specifically to people in Canada. First Nations is not a broad Indigenous term. I just want to put that out there. So I don't know why she keeps referring to First Nations people. She has nothing to do with First Nations.
And that wouldn't be my call to make, because my tribe's in Virginia, right? We have 9 federally recognized tribes in Oregon, and it should be their call on how the land is managed. We also have descendancy groups and tribes that had their federal recognition stripped away. And when you look at that, and if you can get their recognition back in Oregon, there's no process for state recognition for state recognized tribes, which could help.
And notice, in this situation, she not only, just as another chance, she could have corrected, hey, I'm not actually able to represent Native people, my ancestry's far back. But instead she tries to speak for Native people, and she doesn't even fucking know what the fuck First Nations is. Oh my god. Ugh, and then she wants to send me those fucking voice messages? Bitch, fuck you. Anyway, and she acts like this isn't her acting like she's more Native than she is. She doesn't think this is identity fraud, but it fucking is. Anyway, and then it comes up again. So, there's also a news article blog posting about her where she says her childhood was enriched by her, they're quoting her. So if this was not correct, then why is she allowing people to publish wrong information? Because she told me I just made it up. No, I didn't. Voices for Voices said that her childhood was enriched by her indigenous heritage and Mexican culture. And that she identifies as Patawomeck, an indigenous group from Virginia, and that she describes growing up, participating in powwow ceremonies and cultural gatherings, etc. So, if this was false, why isn't she having them correct the information instead of instead of giving me shit for calling it out for it being wrong? Because she what did she say?
So maybe you should have came and verified shit with me before you posted shit that could cost you there. I clearly say that. I have never said I've been connected to the Patawomeck since childhood, for one.
So, then who the fuck, how are you connected to indigenous heritage? How was your childhood enriched by your indigenous heritage if you are not connected to the Patawomeck since childhood if you're Patawomeck? Then it was not enriched by your indigenous heritage, now was it? Like, that is so contradictory, so contradictory. Jill says it's given Moses. Given Moses, part in the Red Sea over here. Because I don't think she understands, like, and they don't even spell the Patawomeck name right. And she does nothing to correct this misinformation. She causes misinformation to be spread and does not give a fuck about the heart about it. I am so livid. And then another thing, where we went over, she did this in the podcast. Hold on. Like, and I have other different thoughts about all of this that are in this stream, so I'm not trying to rehash everything. Let's see. Oh, okay. Sorry, I was looking for the next part here. So right here, hold on. Brittany says, and here's the thing, it's like, because of the colonial system we live in, part of being Indigenous is political. It is caring, about the political system. It may not be caring about participating in it, but it may be caring about human rights issues and having an understanding of being impacted by politics. And it's like, if you were not impacted by politics until Trump was in office, to me that shows you've not experienced any form of marginalization under the constructs of the system of society. Because otherwise, if you felt like it was benefiting you, if you didn't realize, there wasn't a reason to wake up before it escalated to here, it shouldn't have had to escalate here to become the problem. It's kind of like whenever, okay, my bad, wrong part, but she was saying that Trump was her political awakening, so I was like, what the fuck is that? Okay, so she had said something about 7 generations. Okay, so here we go.
I do too. That's why my hands are always up here.
We do it for 7 generations into the future, and our environment is declining. Our human rights are being taken away. We're still.
So right here, she's talking about 7 generations, but that's a Haudenosaunee principle. Whenever they're asking her about her opinions, so she doesn't refer to Powhatan things. She's always she refers to First Nations. She refers to Navajo. She refers to Anishinaabe. She refers to Haudenosaunee. She's not connected to her own fucking culture.
Almost, I would say daily, but there's the MMIW crisis, so that's missing and murdered Indigenous women.
And I don't think that people who have no connection to a lived experience just getting up there and being like, MMIW, I speak for MMIW, is appropriate when you have no connection to the organization, no connection to the community. And so there's a whole other different, so that right there, it's like utilizing the proximity to Native people to act as if you're more Native than you are is a problem. And she denies she does that, but it is what she does. And the fact she doesn't see that is why I do not believe she's accepted in Native community. And I don't think she'll ever get accepted until she takes accountability. And in this podcast, they are literally talking about what would it mean to take accountability. And yeah, and here she's still talking about MMIP. This movement. So it does bother me that she's using it here.
And that started up in Canada, the movement, and came down to America. Now you'll see MMIP groups as well for missing and murdered Indigenous people. And so that covers the men, the Two-Spirit, and everything like that as well.
Right.
And then we have, they just challenged ICWA during the last presidential election. ICWA was on the chopping block, and that's the Indian Child Welfare.
And for her to be speaking on these issues when she's not connected to the trauma of any of this or the history of any of this, she has no lived experience on any of this. She is not qualified to speak on any of this. It is problematic. And it's one thing on your own personal platform to be talking about these things and pulling up sources about it and talking about your opinions on your own platform, but to be taking up space on other media channels from actual connected Native people who could accurately represent these issues makes me livid. And the fact she doesn't see a problem with that is alarming. And so, yeah. Fucking, there's it just takes away from Indigenous representation. There's so much limitation. And she keeps saying Patawomeck wrong. Yeah. And I think it does matter that, you know, she can't say it right. Um, and she also says that she's in the process of getting enrolled in this live stream, but her lineage is too far back to get enrolled, and she knows that. So I saw that as a blatant lie. Hold on, or at least that's something along the lines of my lineage does not qualify for enrollment. Let me rewind it back a little.
Which is a tribe on the East Coast. I'm not enrolled. I always clarify that so nobody comes for me. But I am connected to my family who are enrolled, and I communicate with them frequently. Learning.
And I already communicate. Knowing who the tribal historian emeritus is and talking to a tribal historian emeritus, yeah, he's a distant relative. Yes, I would never discount him being family, but at the same time, you can't make people think you're connected to a group of family when you've only established and maintained a positive connection with a single individual because of getting your lineage confirmed by that single individual. If you're not in community with the rest of the tribe, if they don't fucking know you, you can't fucking just say that because you know you talked to one fucking person. That's disrespectful, in my opinion. And it's the way she's like, yeah, I'm not enrolled, but I'm Patawomeck and claimed by my community and all this stuff. It's like, I'm only claimed by certain community members. I can't just broadly claim all of the Patawomeck tribe knows me and claims me like that. I know my fucking dad is. But this is like, I already communicated, you know, my thoughts on that, so I don't want to. She doesn't understand, you know,
learning my tribal history, my family's history, and just I need to go out there and visit and get the enrollment process started.
Right.
At the time of this interview, she's well aware that her lineage is too far back to get enrolled. So why is she saying I need to get the enrollment process started? That is an outright lie or misrepresentation of the truth because you already know you can't get enrolled. Why not just say my lineage is too far back to get enrolled? And the captioner is not working. I was saying it's a blatant misrepresentation of the truth to not be at like, you know, to it's a misrepresentation of the truth, in my opinion, to say that you're going to go get enrolled when you already know that you can't get enrolled. Oh, god damn it. Where did my captioner go? Anyway. So yeah. I found that to be a lie. I just did. And at this point, and here's the proof of that, you know, Bill Deyo has said her family she cannot become a tribal member. Her family left too early. So she sent this to me. She knows she can't get enrolled. So why would she say she plans on getting enrolled on this podcast? And the podcast was found during her candidacy for governor because they're discussing that. So I know the timeline that she knows better at this point. It's just, that's why you know what I mean? Based on everything we've seen, you can see why I think the way I think, right? Like, and she talked about Potomac's or being indigenous one more time, I think, in this, in here, I think. But they're also, they were asking her, like, what are you gonna do to be accountable? And she was like, I don't fully understand. And it's like, yeah, that fucking tracks, that you don't fully understand how to be accountable. But the answers, like, that she gave on accountability, she doesn't, literally, with me, you can tell, she doesn't actually take accountability for the harm she causes. It's real fucked up. Okay, hold on. Here we go. She's speaking on Native issues again. Here.
It just came to me.
I do plan on initiating state of emergency as soon as I'm elected, because we have the housing crisis, we have the drug crisis, we have the treaties being violated for First Nations and MMIW, and that.
Now I'm just curious, because she's talked about state of emergency a couple of times. I was thought about this the first time. I was like, let me let it go, but you know what? It's coming up again. Fuck it. Okay, so yeah, I'm not gonna go into that state of emergency thing, but yeah. And yeah, maybe that's it. Let's see, I'm just scrolling through. If that's it, then we're gonna be done here, but I just want to see if she said anything else here that might have been it. But yeah. Okay. I think that might actually be it, actually. I thought that it mentioned again, but... let's see. Okay, here it is.
So I'll use a mistake I made before, and then I'll go into other, because this is a community that I'm a part
We're
of.
calling you out.
Yeah, this is a community that I'm a part of, and then I'll move into communities that I'm not a part of. So
Okay.
it's kind of a two-part answer. So being Native and being a reconnecting Native, I was involved as a child learning jingle dress dance and ceremony in the home, went to gatherings, and then...
So, saying that you're being Native, that you're a reconnected Native, when you haven't done the work to reconnect, this is problematic. And you're talking about jingle dress dancing and having ceremony in the home and gatherings and stuff as if that makes you connected to being Indigenous. It does not, when this is not your culture. What the fuck is wrong with you? And why is my captioner not working again? Okay, my captioner was not working, but basically I was saying this is extremely problematic. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with her for using, I don't remember what the fuck I was saying, but I don't know what the fuck is wrong with her for, you know, talking about jingle dress dance, having ceremony at the home and going to gatherings. If you've never been to Virginia, you've never connected with Powhatans, this is not an Indigenous experience. Why are you speaking on these related to being Indigenous? That does not make you Indigenous. I am just so confused why she keeps bringing this up then, and then acting like she didn't fucking do that.
That stopped when my mom...
Okay, jingle dress dancing, I don't know who the fuck taught her that. That's Anishinaabe. That's not growing up Indigenous. Partaking in another Indigenous culture does not mean you're raised with an Indigenous perspective, does not mean you were raised in your community or connected to your culture. If she danced or went to some ceremony at home in Oregon, if you didn't go to ceremony in Virginia, you are not raised with an Indigenous perspective. Engaging in other Indigenous people's community. If I go to a Chinese restaurant and I've been to Chinese New Year and my friend who is Chinese drew me a picture, does that then make me Chinese? No. So, like where she's using these things is trying to say she has proximity to an Indigenous experience is extremely fucked up and is outright, if it's intentional, it's a lie. If it's unintentional, then it shows she is so not in a place of her learning journey. This is why, if you're not connected, you do not need to speak on having an Indigenous identity, because you do not understand what it is to have one when you don't have one. Like, this is so triggering and so fucked up for me to see, you know? I just, and who the fuck taught her jingle dress dance? What ceremony did she go to? Why did she never name these ceremonies or gatherings or the community she was with or the people she was with? Because if she actually named a community, then people would be able to ask around in that community about if she was there or not, right? Because when I tell you guys that I'm from Mississippi, that there are people in the Choctaw Reservation who did work with my dad through Yates Construction, there are community members of the Choctaw Res who do. They will recognize either me, my twin, my brother, or my dad. You know, I accidentally dead named somebody over here. I said Logan by mistake because my mind was out of it. I meant to say the Combs and Berry family because this person, but you know, life is hard. Y'all know who the fuck I'm talking about if you're part of that community though, so. For example, the Berry Logan family on the Choctaw Res. But yes, and mind you, I don't even get, I've been talking to M. Berry again, so she and I think, have a mutual understanding, but Combs and I do not get along. Let me just say that. But, yeah, they will recognize me. Ask M. Berry. She's still on the res. Whether or not they like me, they ain't gotta like us, you know, but will they recognize us? Yes, right? Like, I can tell you who the fuck I know on that res. Like, why doesn't Brittany ever do the same? If she went to Oregon natives, only 2% of population in Oregon is native, so that's a small community. Someone would fucking know who the fuck she is, right? In my opinion. But it's just like, I do not see this as evidence of being connected or raised Powhatan or understanding your Powhatan identity. And we, like the post that we've seen on her discussing all of that, she didn't find out she had Powhatan lineage until 2021. And I don't think she got it confirmed by Bill Deyo. It was either 2021 or 2023 when she got her lineage confirmed by Bill Deyo. But what she got confirmed was a GEDmatch analysis. GEDmatch, GEDmatch. She never got, she's never shown documentation of her ancestry, and when you do her genealogy based on her grandparents that her mother posted, there are no indigenous ancestors documented. So, it's just for me, it's like, and she's never been to Virginia, never been to the tribe, so she's not raised in community with our people. She was not raised indigenous, she was not raised with an indigenous perspective. That's why she's fucking up a lot of what she says, in my opinion.
Mom had to work like 2 or 3 jobs to keep a roof over our head. So as an adult, I reconnected, I found my tribe, and in my excitement.
So she just says, so previously she's trying to say that she was native from jingle dress dancing and going to powwows and ceremonies. Now she's saying she just reconnected and found her tribe. You couldn't have been raised indigenous if you just found your tribe. In this, when you're white presenting. It's one thing, you know, for her Mexican side to have questions about that side. I'm not speaking to that. But particularly on her mom's side, which is documented, only European ancestors are documented on Family Search for her mom's side. And this is how she's speaking. I have a problem with it.
Of this, I posted the wrong DNA chart publicly. And
how did you post the wrong DNA chart? Where did that come from? Like, I don't understand this. And I don't understand why you're harping on a DNA, which is this colonizer thing, through a website, which I'm not even sure is accurate or not. But, like, you're not ever posting your lineage. You've never shown the documentation of your ancestors or your lineage. That's what counts. Why are you always bringing up these fucking DNA tests? And I don't know which DNA test she was referring to, because there were 2 different things she claimed as her DNA, and both were problematic in my opinion.
I know. And instead of, they should have came to me and said, hey, this is the wrong chart. Do you have the right chart? Instead, they were very nasty and were like, you're manipulating us. You're lying. I'm like,
okay, how would they know that it's the wrong chart if you're saying this is my chart? Then that's the word they're going to take it for. And the chart you showed was not, both charts you've shown for your DNA were not consistent with tribal history to be Patawomeck. So it's problematic. Like, in my opinion, like, both were problematic. And for you to tone police people when it comes to indigenous ancestry and say, oh, they didn't ask you nice enough about the ancestry, when it's the way you're doing it is so problematic, I find that extremely alarming. And it's this right here is showing you're not. And I told her politely in our private DMs. She still continued on this path. Doesn't matter if you tell her nicely. Doesn't matter if you tell her nice. It doesn't matter if you tell her off. She's still going to be problematic either way. Like, accountability. You're not listening to the community that you've been trying to represent. It's, you know what I mean? There's a lot of red flags here.
Like, nope, I'm not. That was a mistake. I pulled the chart down. I put my actual DNA results up, and then I moved along. Yeah. Like, I don't dwell on an aspect. I fixed it.
Post your lineage. Why don't you ever post the genealogical records of your family's tree? Not your birth records, but starting with the first dead relative. Well, I don't know if your grandparents are alive or dead right now, but, you know, say your great-grandparents are dead, for example, like, start with them. From their records up should be public record.
Now I'm moving forward in a better way. The right one's up. You can keep yelling over there, but it was fixed publicly. People can go look and see it. That's from a community that I'm a part of.
That's not accountability, and you're not part of the community. If you're not, okay, having distant ancestry as a Native American is not the same as being part of the Native American community any more than me having a 5th great grandfather being African American makes me part of the Black community. Like, that is why Native Americans have a problem with her. It's one thing for me to say, you know, like when it comes to wanting to, like, say, people ask me, why do you have a special interest in learning about African American history? And I wanted to answer, you know, my 5th great grandfather is African American, and since I found out, I've been trying to understand more of where that lineage came from and how we got to where we are now with that aspect of my family tree. You know, I feel like there would be nothing wrong with having some sort of responsive answer when it comes to something like that, with Brittany wanting to speak about or you know, learn more about being Native with having distant ancestry. But when you just found out in your 30s that you had any Native ancestry at all, if you did, through a fucking DNA test, you don't know your family records, you don't know your ancestry like that, like, this is, and you're just sitting here like, yeah, I fixed my DNA, but nobody, but you're not posting your genealogical records, and you're not part of the community. This right here, I don't know if she's intentionally lying or if it's because she's not connected and she has no understanding of these issues and she's trying to represent something she's not connected to, but that's then therefore a lie, right? Like, this is misrepresentation, and I can't wrap my head around it any other way. It's just blatant and intentional at this point. Because it's like, if I sat here and tried to claim that I'm part of the Patawomeck community, those fucking people would not know me. If I walked off the street, they would have no idea who the fuck I am. It would be extremely disrespectful for me to act like I'm a bigger part of the community than I actually am. And that's why I have a problem with this, because I think it's disrespectful. You know, just my opinion.
Turns out you're part Mandalorian.
We have, now, in my campaign itself, and when I am governor, I'm manifesting.
And mind you guys, I'm claimed by my immediate community, I'm claimed by my family, and I had my lineage verified, so sometimes, you know, I've said extents to which I've been claimed. But I think there's a difference between talking about the claiming that you've gone through with that journey, with that reclamation journey, or with that connection journey, versus acting like the whole fucking tribe claims you, or acting like you're more connected to the lifestyle or the lived experience than you are. And I think her not acknowledging the misrepresentation in the media about how she is basically lying about being more Native than she is harmful, is problematic to me. And I think that one was the last one, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, and so then they go into accountability here, and it's just, you know, I don't know. But yeah, this is, yeah, so I'm going to end that there. Y'all can go watch the live stream, and we're here now. And so, yeah, basically, you know, just to kind of, you know, I'm going to go ahead and, I was thinking about whether or not I should block her so she can't fucking message me back. But you know what? If she ever messages me back, I'll fucking cover that shit. Because I bet she won't take me up on a debate on these issues. But yeah. So we reviewed all of the facts of everything so far that I can find. I don't know where she has any Choctaw, Chickasaw, or Blackfoot lineage at, but she seems to think she's Chickasaw, Choctaw, Blackfoot. So if you guys want to claim her, let me know. But yeah, you know, she says here Powhatan is another name for Patawomeck. It's not. That's a lie. She doesn't even know what it means to be Powhatan. You know, Patawomeck is a Powhatan culture tribe, but Powhatan is not another name for Patawomeck. Anyway, and she makes conflicting statements about who is or is not her 10th great grandfather. And she's also, you know, lying about ever making posts or ever trying to act like she had an indigenous childhood or some shit, you know. She's acting like her saying these things aren't problematic, but they are. Then why the fuck are you saying all of these things? Like, it's just, you know. So I find her contradictory. I just, you know what I mean? I'm at a point with her, I've tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, especially at first, but now it's like the more I learn and the more I see from her, especially with seeing how she responded to me, it's like, now I see why those people were claiming that she bullies and harasses them. Because if she said anything to others like these messages to me, they're just not going to see that well, you know? Now I get it, I think, if anybody else did get a similar message to something like that. But yeah, I there's nothing wrong with being a descendant. It's just wrong to lie about how connected you are. And I think that she should put effort in to correct the misinformation that is spread because of her. And I think she should go back to those media platforms and ask them to issue a correction about her connection to Native identity. You know, and yeah, like, I just feel like she's being extremely problematic. She's intentionally misleading people and then denying it at this point, in my opinion, because what the fuck was that? That's all I got for you. I haven't really processed much. I'm just really kind of livid at what happened with all of this, you know. I don't understand where she's coming from. I don't understand why she uses Patawomeck identity the way she does. I don't understand why she doesn't take accountability. And I don't understand why she doesn't understand that, you know, she is white presenting, that she was raised white, you know. And I did tell her that wasn't cool to say, like, you know what I mean? And so she was literally saying that she was raised in the Indigenous community until she was 7. And then she's saying that I made that up, and she never said that, but she literally messaged it to me. And I went on this big ramble about how everything she was saying was fucked up, and then she was saying she was smarter than to publicly say she wasn't raised white, while also making public appearances claiming that she had Indigenous heritage since childhood. It's like, but then denying that to me in these voice messages. Wow. You know, so I just feel gaslit. I'm annoyed. I'll have to process this all better. If I do process this better, then I will do another stream to follow up on some of these loose end thoughts here. But in a nutshell, it's like that PR plan that I did, you can throw that out the window, because obviously she doesn't care to take accountability, you know? So yeah, what can I do to fix that if she's not gonna fix the harm she causes? But yeah, this is extremely problematic on her part. Anyway, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you guys. I really have to get back to work. I'm fucked financially right now, so I gotta go work. I really shouldn't have been doing this stream today, but I was so mad I could not focus, so I decided to get the anger out of me and stream with you guys instead. But we're here now. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for helping me process everything. And if I process something else, then maybe I'll do another live stream to follow up some of these thoughts, but I'm just gonna leave it here where it's at for now. So yeah, have a good night, and Ana. Thanks for watching. Join the loyalty program at noladechow.com/loyalty and check in during live streams to get points for rewards.